All right. I think my view is pretty good. Um, hopefully, hopefully y'all can hear me. I know I always say that every video, but I'm just trying to make sure my volume is working. It should be connected to the microphone though. Let's see. So I think I'm all set. Shit. I need to do something about this chat. Oh, we got somebody here who just um. Holy shit! Let me see. This chapter is very read heavy. If you read it fast, it would not make sense. Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate that tip. Um, yeah, I appreciate that tip. So I'll definitely make sure I read it a little bit slower. So that's cool. Blah blah blah. But it looks like you just dipped out. I wanted to know if you can hear me, but you should be able to hear me though. I should be okay. Read heavy. So I'm kind of scared. Oh no, don't do that. I'm kind of scared from that point. If it's really read heavy, then I guess I gotta really like take my time reading this, and it's gonna end up being like a long video. Because typically I can read this chapter like going live. I typically read it for like 45 minutes or so. But I need to get my fucking. I need to get. It is okay. Okay. Cool. 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 Glad that you hear me. So yeah. So typically I read it take like about 45 minutes reading it live. If I'm reading it by myself. It normally takes like I don't know somewhere between like 20 and 30 minutes. But I will take my time and read this. I mean, you know how I be. I be a little. I ain't gonna say a little slow. Let me not berate myself or anything, but I don't know. English language is fucked up, so I'll be having problems with some of these words. But I try to take my time and read it, try to understand what I'm reading instead of just reading everything through. But I'm actually pretty excited about this chapter, though. I will say that I'm pretty excited about this chapter just because I'm wondering what this all means for this whole Sylvie being like encapsulated because Arthur put her in armor and her spell, which like triggered after going to the relic tombs and stuff. If they're in the relic tombs, he said he didn't recognize it, but I'm wondering what all that means. So I'm guessing maybe we're gonna find out exactly what's going on with Sylvie and exactly how it's gonna affect her. Because I thought it was crazy that she was going in there anyway, just because of like when he first opened up that portal, she was like encapsulated and she can like draw it in and see or something like that, something along those lines. Maybe I can change the way this is viewed. No, automatic high sidebar. Okay, I did that. I want to see if I can like raise this up a little bit higher. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think I'm fine. I wish the chat looked different and it didn't look the way that it did. I don't know. I'll just keep it how it is then for the time being. But but yeah, I'm hoping we get an explanation as for what all that means though. But let me not make this video even super longer than what it's actually going to be if I got to take my time and read this because I know sometimes I'll be reading shit and it'd be like wait what? Let me reread that again. So hopefully we can figure this shit out. Maybe some of you already read it and you already got it figured out. Maybe you're rereading it again, but I'm pretty sure y'all can like give me like some sort of hints or something about some things I might not quite understand exactly. But without further ado, chapter 435, scales of understanding. So I mean, I guess in the title it kind of lets you know that you really got to understand all this stuff. So let's just kind of get into it then. Um, Sylvie Indrath. So we're starting with Sylvie. It looks like we're starting with Sylvie. Okay. The compass portal wrapped around me. Okay, so her point of view for when she enters. Okay, okay, this is cool. The compass portal wrapped around me, embracing me and pulling me in. The transition was seamless. Unlike the ancient portals, oh, The transition was seamless, unlike the ancient portals dotted around Dicathan. So she's talking about how it's different from the portals that's in Dicathan. See, I didn't really think about that until Arthur had said that, like, okay, maybe it might be different with the relic. But then again, a lot of these relics that Arthur actually has, we hasn't fully understood like their capabilities. Like even the Seeker Stone or the Seer Stone or whatever, Creeper Stone, even that he doesn't fully understand how that works. So it makes sense that there's some other things that we might not know of. So I guess you kind of leave it and give it that potential of like being able to kind of like adjust things and maybe change things in the story if he wants to, just because of like not really knowing exactly the full extent of some of these artifacts. But anyway, so the transition was seamless. So I guess the other portals, they're not seamless. Anyway, let me not get too stuck on this. But on the other side, I found myself in a picturesque world that seemed more likely to be found in Epheotis than in Dicathan or Alacria. But this is our first time in the Relic Tomb, so that's not anything that's like new. All right. So towering trees, their tops not visible from the forest floor, grew up from an expansive crystal clear lake. It was one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen, like a picture, like coming home. Okay. Okay. Even as I acknowledge the strangeness of this thought, I'm really trying to take my time reading this now since what is that, Helios? Let me know that you gotta really, really like read it and like try to understand everything that's going on. Okay. So even as I acknowledge the strangeness of this thought, I was already losing focus on the scenery. A purple haze fell over my eyes like a curtain lowering. Okay. My body felt stiff and distant, outside of my control. I sagged, then jerked upright. The force was gone. Above me, or the force was gone. Above me, the etheric void stretched into infinity in every direction. Wait, okay. Okay, so she went from being able to see the forest and everything that's going on. She went from being able to see the forest and talking about how beautiful it is with the crystal clear lake to now she was jerked upright. The forest is gone, and now she's in the ether void, stretched into infinity every direction. Okay, so that's strange. My feet rested not on solid ground, but smooth water. Okay, that's different. Opaque with the reflection of the purple sky. So the purple sky. Okay, she's definitely in a different world than the forest, world that she was in before. The moment I acknowledged the water, I descended into it. There was no splash, only cool pressure enveloping me from the feet up. I tried to swim, to claw my way back to the surface, but my limbs slid through the water without creating the upward force necessary to propel me. My eyes burned, my lungs ached, and panic threatened to overwhelm me. Okay, so she's like in water, but it's not quite water because there's no splash. And she's like panicking, like almost drowning. Eyes burning, lungs ache. That's terrifying. The water, solid as ink, parted. A hand reached down for me, but it wasn't made of flesh and blood. It felt more like etheric wind molded into the approximation of an arm and hand. See, man, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. So not a hand, but etheric wind. So ether. It didn't matter. I took it. My skin prickled as if I grabbed or charged. No, well, yeah. My skin prickled as if I'd grabbed a charged mana crystal where the ether limb touched me. Then I was rising, pulling free of the water, and was back out under the void sky. Okay, so she's back out under the purple void sky. So she's still not in the forest, but she's not sinking anymore. Okay. A violent fit of coughing raked my body, and I struggled to wipe the viscous liquid from my eyes. Breath, calm your heart, take control. Blinking rapidly, I tried to look. I'm guessing this is her thinking, all right? I don't think they see anybody talking to her, telling her to do that. Blinking rapidly, I tried to look at the figure before me. Okay, there is somebody. I tried to look at the figure before me, whose hand I was still holding, or rather, whose hand was still holding me up. My toes sank into the water, and without their support, I would have plunged down once again. So this is strange. This power will swallow you whole if you let it take control. Huh. So it is an actual person that's talking to her, and it's not just her thoughts. It's like something speaking to her. Breathe. I think that's breathe. Did I say breath? Breath? Breathe? I don't fucking know. No, breathe would be an E at the end of it. So that's breath. Anyway, calm your heart. Take control. This power will swallow you whole if you let it take control. The speaker was a dragon, but no, she was humanoid, slightly taller than me, horns of deep purple wind thrusting up from the amethyst hair, or from amethyst hair, and yet at the same time, she seemed to be a huge demonic creature staring down at me, all three at once. Perhaps, or wait, all three at once. At the same time, she seemed to be a huge demonic creature staring down at me, all three at once. Perhaps, or changing from one to the next in rapid succession, unless it was a trick of the swirling winds that formed her frame, or unless she's not really there. I shook my head and sank slightly deeper into the water as her grip on me slackened. I don't understand. A distant time blurred memory, a distant time blurred memory surfaced. Sylvia? Mom? Okay. The wind carved the lips, twisted up. Remember, I said this, okay? I said this shit. I said that perhaps Sylvie would meet her mom at some point with this whole relic tomb shit. Maybe she's gonna have like some sort of vision or something to where her mom, or maybe her mom put another spell or some shit in her to where if she tries to go into the relic tombs that something gets triggered and she's gonna like meet her mom or something. I theorized that too. So if this is actually what's happening, then this is kind of cool. So Sylvie, mom, the wind carved lips twisted up, and yeah, indistinct, yeah, indistinct. I'm fucking stupid. Your identity is forged of contradictions. Wait, who's speaking? Both drag. Wait, who's speaking? Your identity is forged of contradictions, both dragon and basilisk, and Asura bonded to. And that's what I'm saying. Remember, I asked these questions before. I'm just like, yeah, she's half dragon, half Asura, or half dragon, half basilisk. Is she the only person who's half dragon, half basilisk? We don't know that, right? And then the other thing is, how is it that she's bonded to another human being to where they can share their thoughts? Like, can a normal Asura bond to another human being and you can hear their thoughts? Like, has this ever happened before? I was always curious about that. But anyway, they're talking about that. So, your identity is forged of contradictions, both dragon and basilisk. An Asura bonded to a human, twice born. Twice born meaning born from the egg originally when Arthur first got her, and then born again from the other egg in the ether world. Okay, so they're aware of her being twice born, and twice adapted to the power that is ether. Twice adapted to the power that is ether. So does that mean that like the dragons being naturally inclined to ether and her being born that way, and then again her being reborn and being adapted to the power that is ether? You are order from chaos. So chaos is all this shit, but she's order. But the nature of this universe is entropy. I think that's how you say that. Let me see how you say that for sure. Entropy. Okay. Apparently, it's entropy. A thermodynamic quantity representing the unavailability of a system's thermal energy for conversion into mechanical work. What the fuck? often interpreted as the degree of disorder or randomness in the system. Okay, so disorder, randomness. The universe is entropy. These contradictions, these paradoxes, will always be trying to pull you apart. Father and grandfather. Right. This is what Mordain said. This is what Mordain said. This is exactly what Mordain said. Like, as though Mordain already predicted this may be happening. So these contradictions, these paradoxes will always be trying to pull you apart. Father and grandfather, dragon and humans, Vivum and Avum. Vivum and Avum. Wait. So, Avum, Spatium, Vivum, right? Avum is time. Spatium is space, right? And then Vivum is like life. So it sounds to me like the ether, I guess the different types of ether, they're opposites of each other. So they're not like the same. They're opposites. Father and grandfather, right? We got Agrona and Kezis. So obviously they're like opposites, right? They're against each other. Humans and Asuras, obviously, or not dragons and humans. So they didn't say Asuras and humans. They said dragons and humans. And what I take by dragons and humans, meaning that I guess the dragons just naturally clash with the humans, like they naturally hate the humans, or maybe they're just jealous of the humans, but they're naturally opposites. But they didn't say Asura. I might be thinking too deep into this, but hear me out. But they didn't say Asura, so that just means that it's not the Asura and the humans that are clashing, it's the dragons that are clashing. So it's something to do with the dragons being opposite of the humans. So father and grandfather, Kezis and Agrona, dragons and humans, and then Vivum and Avum. So I'm guessing. So Avum is time. Vivum is no. Avum, spatium, and Vivum. I keep remembering. Avum is time. Spatium is space. Vivum is life. And so, if she's got Vivum and Avum, I'm guessing that she has time and life. So maybe she got time from the mom, and then life from Agrona, the father. That's what I'm guessing. Okay, I might be off on this, but that's what I'm guessing. And so they clash with each other. So they're not like connected. They're not the same. The different types of ether are clashing with one another. That's just what I'm taking from this. Maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but that's what I'm reading from this. Okay, so I listen the same way a child listens to a conversation between adults. I heard the words, but can make little to no sense of them. See, I'm making sense of them for you, though. Okay, so we're kind of getting understanding of it. Who are you? I asked again, and my feet sank deeper still. The glass smooth water caressing my ankles. I am not here, but you are. And you will not leave if you continue to focus on all the wrong things. Okay. I understand why he said that you really got to like pay attention and like really read and try to understand and take your time reading this chapter. Otherwise, you won't know what the fuck is going on. So that's why I kind of explained my understanding of like the father, grandfather, dragons, humans, Vivum, Avum. I'm kind of just talking about my understanding based off of just reading it, the opposites. So then she says, who are you? But she's asking the wrong questions, or she's focusing on the wrong things. And she won't leave if she continues to focus on the wrong things. So I guess she just needs to focus on the things that the voice said to her, which was breathe, calm your heart, take control, or breath, calm your heart, take control. And this power will swallow you whole if you let it take control. So once again, she says take control again. So like really needs to take control. She thought it was Sylvia. It's probably not Sylvia. Then she says, I am not here. I'm just assuming it's a she. I am not here, but you are. So it's just like a spirit or a voice or something. So they're not there, but she is. You, oh, wait, what? You and you alone can keep yourself from sinking forever. So she doesn't need the help from this spirit or this hand in order to stop her from sinking. She can figure out how to stop herself from sinking on her own. Okay. Okay. I close my eyes, but the etheric realm, the endless expanse of water, and the figure were too clearly visible before me. We're still, I said two. We're still clearly visible before me. So close her eyes are still, so it's like she closed her eyes, but her eyes aren't closed. I'm sorry. What do I need to do? First, you must stand on your own. Okay, so first you just have to be able to stand without sinking. So she needs to figure, so it's basically like baby steps. She needs to be able to do that first. I can't walk on water. It's probably not water. It's probably whatever she wants it to be. I can't walk on water, I protested, peeking down at the water around my ankles. There is no water. Look at that. I just said it. See, I know. I got the predictions, man. There is no water. I wanted to argue, to point at the liquid overtaking me and let out. You know, this reminds me of? This reminds me of like the shit that Arthur goes through. And like he had to understand ether and understand that like it's not what he thinks it is. It can be whatever he wanted to be. I wanted to argue, to point at the liquid overtaking me and let out some sarcastic retort, but I held back, remembering what else the figure had said. Breathe. Take control. Now there's an E at the end of it, so it is breathe. Anyway, take control. I did, or at least I tried. I was hardly in a comfortable enough position to search for mindfulness, but I started with my breath. Why are you staring at me? Down. Don't be staring at me. Anyway, I moved out. Where was I? Okay, take control. I was hardly in a comfortable position to search for the mindfulness, but I started with my breath. When I gained control of that, I moved outward, taking hold over one muscle, one limb at a time. Finally, I pulled myself up so my feet were out of the water. Considering what she had said, I approached the most obvious solution first. If what I'm seeing isn't real, then I'm in my own mind, aren't I? When I'd been in the etheric realm with Arthur, the only interruption of the empty etheric space was a single relictum zone as seen from the outside. This place was similar, but not the same. My breath steadied. My feet felt sturdier. I lowered them until the soles rested against the cool water, but stable. I thought both to myself and the water. My flesh pressed against the glassy surface. It held. I was standing atop the water like I had been when I first appeared here, in that single moment before I recognized the floor for what it was. Oh, so I see what she's saying. So basically, once she was like not aware that it was water, that's when she started to sink. When she was aware, but when she wasn't aware, that's when she was just kind of floating. And then she was like, "Oh shit, I'm in water," and then she sank. So okay, okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Um, okay, so yeah, so I'm right here. So that single moment before I recognized the floor for what it was, my perception of the floor had caused it to change, taking on the characteristics I expected from it, like how mana reacts to both my purposeful intention and my expectation of it simultaneously. You have many questions. This is your conversation to lead. Ask them. Understanding is how you will take control. Time is of the essence. So I'm guessing this is all taking place while she's like eyes rolled into the back of her head, stiff. She's encapsulated in Arthur's armor. Okay. Okay, cool. And if you can do me a favor, you guys, like the video. Like the video. Definitely appreciate that. This is your conversation to lead. Ask them. Understanding is how you'll take control. Time is of the essence. Time, I thought, the words triggering a deeper memory. Something half lost and only partially found. Time, I thought, the word triggering a deeper memory. Something half lost and only partially found. Even time bends before fate. Yeah, that's what they said. You. It was your voice I heard in the void. What do you mean? Well, what did you mean? I asked. Time is an arrow. Time is an arrow. Okay. Lines formed in the air all around, when made visible, drawing a bombardment of arrows. Of arrows that fired past us, all moving in the same direction. Okay, so they're giving like examples, like visual examples to have a better understand. All moving in the same direction. So time is like an arrow. So I guess what that can mean is time is like an arrow, like when you when it. But then wait. Didn't Arthur say the exact same thing? I could have sworn Arthur said the exact same thing when he was giving his example when he was talking to that fucking jinn. And remember, he was like back into the body of another jinn child or something like that. And it was like, "What is your understanding of ether or whatever?" And then remember, he compared it to like what do you say, like a water skin, where like it can be molded and it can be changed. Bruh, I'm like, it's coming back to me now. He said that it can be molded or it can be changed or something like that, but it's like it stays the same or something. But then he was like, but then I think the jinn said like, "Oh, that's like a very amateurish or childish way of thinking of it." And then he like changed it. He was like, "It's more like an arrow," and he said that like and like he said that the ether is like the arrow and mana is like the wind, some shit like that. It's fucking. I'm trying to think back, man. I really have to reread this entire story to be completely honest with you because it's a lot of things I forgot. Time is an arrow. Lines run in the air all around us, wind made visible, drawing a bombardment of arrows that fired past us, all moving in the same direction. I stared, unable to make sense of the figure's words, but the longer I looked, the more I noticed about the arrows. Some moved slightly slower or faster, and others weren't straight at all. They curved, weaving in and out of the paths of other arrows. My innate capacity to influence ether in the path of Vivim has regressed, I said. My innate capacity to influence ether in the path of Vivim. So she's talking about just the ether branch or the Vivim branch of ether has regressed. So is this going to be okay? Remember what I said, if y'all been listening to me. So remember what I said before about there has to be some sort of consequence for her being able to, one, save Arthur's life, two, make Arthur's potential even fucking absurdly fucking unlimited, right? With him being half dragon body, right? And then him, well, what she did made it possible for him to form an ether core. But there has to be some sort of consequence for saving his life, making him potentially way more powerful than he was, and then her being able to come back to life. Like there has to be some sort of consequence for it. So I think what it might be is that it regressed her ability to influence the Vivim path of ether. Okay, so I said, voicing an uncomfortable thought that had been growing in me since my return. You're saying that my aptitude has shifted towards Avum instead? So time? According to what I was taught, this isn't possible. Many things are thought impossible until they become real. That's what, man, I agree. Like anything is possible, or what is it? Everything is impossible until it's possible. That's basically what I remember. I remember hearing that too. Like until it's done, everybody's going to think it's impossible until someone actually does it. So yeah, so many things are thought impossible until they become real. Fools insist. See, the reading's fucking up a little bit. Fools insist reality must conform to their expectations, while the wise know that knowledge is our reality. Knowledge of our reality is constantly evolving, timeless, and without finality. The arrows arced sharply downward and began to fall as raindrops, and where the rain landed, it revealed the outline of a building, lacking color, contrast, or detail. It took me a moment to recognize the shape of that captain's flying castle over the dense canopy of the beast glades. Ethereal clouds drifted overhead, wind blown and dark. The water below reflected the rain drawn outline above. The rain drawn outlines above. Of all the places I had lived, or all the places I had lived, Zyester, I think that's how you say that. Xyrus, Mount Geolis, the flying castle had held the strongest memories for me. I had enjoyed being close to the Beast Glades, where I had hunted for years while Arthur adventured. Hunted for years? She wasn't hunting for years. She was only hunting for like, what, like a few weeks? Was it years? I don't remember it being years. Because he was in the Beast Glades with Flamesworth. What's the fuck is her name? Wait, somebody's giving me a hint. I can't fucking see. Because my fucking thing is all fucked up. Anyway, he adventured for 2 years. Yeah. Damn, was it really 2 years? God damn. See, like this is some of the stuff that I forgot. This is some of the stuff I forgot. So it was 2 years. And what's the last thing you said? I can't fucking see because I got same as Sylvie. Yeah, because I remember when he got there, she left. She was like gorging on like beast cores and shit like that, getting stronger. And then she like reappeared when they went to the fucking when he went with those other adventurers into that one dungeon and they met that fucking the when he got Tessia's beast core. What the hell? The I know it on top of my head. It's the Elderwood Guardian. When he fought the fucking Elderwood, I think that Sylvie wanted to come and help or something like that, and he told her not to. Damn, it was 2 years. I didn't know that, or at least I forgot about it. I probably did. I just forgot. Anyway, so let me continue. So Vault Place, okay. There was a magic. Okay, so hunted for years while Arthur adventured. There was a magic to the place, something unexplainable and ancient, and I had enjoyed that too. But mostly, it was where I grew into myself. Give me 1 second. Let me just change my view. Let me pull this over here. Okay, now I'm good. So I'm gonna read on this side instead. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay. Yeah, it was a time skip. You're right. It was a time skip. So anyway, so let's see where I'm at. There was a magic to the place, something unexplainable and ancient. I had enjoyed that too, but mostly it was where I grew into myself. My eyes refocused as the instinctive shit. My eyes refocused as the indistinct figure, now a towering being with huge horns as she faded in and out, the etheric wind dispersing in chaotic gusts. Time is also limited. Wait, time is also limited. So I don't think she's talking about time is limited in the sense that like their time together to be able to talk is limited. She might be saying like actual time is limited, as in like how long you're alive, where you can't like live forever. I think that might be what she might be talking about. Time is also limited, the most finite of resources. As your mind wanders farther away from here, the sands run faster. You are still in danger. Okay. So she's talking about her being trapped. What danger? I asked. What is this place? Did you bring me here? Entropy. I just looked up this word entropy. Entropy. Let me go back. Let me read. Let me do this again, because I just looked up. Wait, what the fuck? I literally just looked this up. Oh no, why is not? Okay, maybe I put the period. Yeah, there you go. So entropy is pretty much some sort of like, what did they say? A thermodynamic quantity representing the unavailability of a system's thermal energy for conversion into mechanical work, often interpreted as the degree of disorder or randomness in the system. So it's disorder, randomness. The second law of thermodynamics says that entropy always increases with time. Okay. So her being like a dragon and her being also not Indra, also her being a basilisk and like being connected with Arthur. So all this type of randomness or whatever. So entropy. Is that the answer to one question or all three? I asked quickly, trying to force myself to be present, to hold one thought in my mind at a time. But the castle was slowly being destroyed in the background, and my heart sank to think of it. Zayester demolished. I don't remember fucking Zayester for some reason. Only dust and ash. Zyrus taken by the Alacrians, and the flying castle destroyed by Cadell. My mother's murderer, I thought bitterly. The figure faded further. The wind's growing even more wild. I'm sorry, I breathed, clenching my eyes shut and focusing on the image. In my mind, she was a beautiful white dragon with lavender eyes. When I peeked through half-closed lids, the figure was stable again. What are you here to tell me? What do you need? What do you need to know? Wait, see, I'm having a hard time knowing who the hell's talking. So Sylvie peeked through half-closed lids. The figure was stable again. What are you here to tell me? What do you need to know? I shook my head. It was too open-ended. Yeah, so that's her talking. It was too open-ended, too broad. I hadn't been back long enough. You know, she's kind of like her thinking through all this just kind of shows that she like is a little bit more mature than Arthur is. Or like she's able to like catch on a little bit quicker for some crazy reason. It was too open-ended, too broad. I hadn't been back long enough. I didn't fully understand what was needed. Only, what is fate? I asked, holding my breath. Okay, these are the right questions. What is fate? I asked, holding my breath. The voice spoke. The noise of her word. So where's this information coming from, though? That's my thought. Like, if she's in her mind, so is this something that her mom might have already known? Because it's not anything that Sylvie knows. So where's the information coming from? Is it a djinn? The noise of her words entered my ears. I blinked several times, my head lolling helplessly as I stared at the figure. It was just that noise, but absent meaning or understanding. Oh my God. So I'm guessing what this is depicting is that what she's talking about or her explanation of what fate is so complex that she literally can't understand it. It's like speaking a different language. That's kind of how I'm interpreting this. I shook my head again. I trailed off, struggling even to form a coherent thought as the meaningless buzz of the figure's explanation still ringled. So that's too complicated of a question for her to understand. So she got to add something a little bit more simpler. To maybe, yeah, okay. The buzzing of the figure's explanation still ringled through my brain. Unlike the djinn, you can't construct a castle in the air. Unlike the djinn, you can't construct a castle in the air. Lacking the foundation to build this is exactly what I said. That's too complex of a question. She needs to add something a little bit simpler, have her understand that. Simpler again, understand that. It's like walking. It's like walking before you learn how to run. You can't just take off running. You got to learn how to walk first. So, unlike the djinn, you can't construct a castle in the air. Lacking the foundation to build such insight upon, there is no hope for you to understand it. I dragged in a long, conflicted breath. The air swelled of smoldering citrus and tasted of ozone. By now, the flying castle shone only by where the dots of etheric rain splashed against it. It was nothing but a crumbled ruin of orbiting bricks and broken stone. One thing, I'm understanding this chapter completely so far. I don't understand who's speaking or where the information is coming from, but I understand what they're talking about. One thing was starting to make sense to me, at least. This conversation, I'm molding it, aren't I? You can't volunteer information. You aren't here to tell me something specific. I have to ask you the right questions. Okay, let me pause on that for a second. One thing was starting to make sense to me, at least. This conversation, I'm molding it. So I kind of figured that, like, I don't know what that means, though. Does she mean that I'm molding it in the sense of, like, I'm in charge of, like, leading the conversation? Because that's what the voice said before. But she said that you can't volunteer information. So I'm thinking that she can't tell her something that she doesn't already know, is what I thought, but maybe that's not quite right. You can't volunteer information. You aren't here to tell me something specific. I have to ask you the right questions. So maybe like a puzzle or a code, if she asks her the right questions, it's going to make sense. In a way, though, perhaps there are no specific right questions, only those that bring you closer to insight or push you farther from it. In a way, though, perhaps there are no specific right questions, only those that bring you closer to insight or push you farther from it. So, yeah, so basically, there's only questions that bring you closer to understanding, or you get even more confused and you don't understand. Why did my innate, okay, so here's our other question. Here's our question. Okay, cool. Why did my innate capacity towards Vivum change? Okay, that seems to me like a good question. So what does she say now? I asked, deciding on a path forward. The figure was humanoid now, her wind-drawn body thin and graceful, the features of her face sharp, but the details indistinct. Only one who has progressed far down the path of Avum in their etheric knowledge can be in two places at once. Okay, I'm lost. Only one who has progressed far down the path. Okay, wait. I read that wrong. Only one who has progressed far down the path of Avum. Avum is time, spatium, and vivum. Okay, I got to make sure I remind myself of that. So Avum is time. Only one who has progressed far down the path of Avum. So I'm guessing she had Avum. No. She had Vivum at first, and now she has Avum. But only one who has progressed far down the path of Avum in their etheric knowledge can be in two places at once, separating. Oh, okay. She's talking about when she was in that egg after she did that, that Jinn art to save Arthur. When she was like in the egg, but she was also in the past watching Arthur grow up in a different world. That's what I believe she's talking about. In two places at once. Separating her body, which would be in the egg, right? After she disintegrated herself using that ether art, and her spirit, which is in the past watching Arthur grow up. So you only can have that ability if you go very, very far down the path of Avum. But my question would be, how did she get so far down the path of Avum in the first place to be able to do that if she didn't already have that ability? Because she already started with Vivum, which is life, then how did she start to branch into a path that she didn't naturally have? Is kind of my question. The etheric knowledge can be separated into two places at once, separating body and spirit to pursue knowledge outside the trail of their own time's arrow. So back to the arrow thing. Separating body and spirit to pursue knowledge outside the trail of their own. So maybe the arrow is like her path towards Avum, or not Avum, Vivum. And then she pursued knowledge outside that path, which is Avum. But then again, I still don't understand how she was able to do that in the first place. How did she go so far down the Avum path if she was already in the Vivum path? I don't get it. Maybe it's just because of that ability. Maybe just that ability is what kind of broke everything. To travel as you have and returned left this insight's mark on your spirit like a long journey builds calluses on your heels. Okay. So this is all because of her ability to do that ether art to save Arthur. That's the only reason why she's able to do this stuff with Avum in the first place, or at least change her trajectory towards Avum, because she did that ether art. And then she returned because of Arthur's help. And then that's kind of what set it in. All right, this insight's marking your spirit like a long journey. Okay, I got it. Let me just read this one more time. Only one who has progressed far down the path of Avum in their etheric knowledge can be in two places at once. We understand that. Separating body and spirit to pursue knowledge outside the trail of their own time's arrow. We understand that her arrow is like her path, her ether path. To travel as you have and return left this insight mark on your spirit like a long journey builds calluses on your heels. Okay. So I'm understanding this, breaking this down, understanding this. All right. And when my body reformed, so I guess it's her talking again. This is Sylvie. And when my body reformed, my spirit's connection to Avum was stronger than my body's to Vivum. So there's a difference. So there's a difference between your body's connection to a ether path and your spirit's connection. So pretty much, she basically went through training, spiritual training towards the Avon path while she was gone for all that time, watching Arthur grow up and shit. But then her body kind of stood still in her regular Avon path. No, I'm fucking getting mixed up. Vivum path. Her body was standing still in the Vivum path, and her spirit went and did training during the Avon path. And then when her spirit finally came back and connected with her body, her spirit was stronger in Avum than her body was in Vivum. And so I guess Avum took over. Or maybe she can use both. Why wouldn't she be able to use both? Can you only have one? Because it seems to me like Arthur can have all three. So I don't know. Okay. So, and when my body reformed, my spirit's connection to Avum was stronger than my body's to Vivum. I said, picking up where the figure left off. I thought I understood, but that understanding was tenuous, hovering at the edge of my consciousness. But I don't feel like I have any insight into Avum. My ability to heal. The downpour of etheric rain receded, blown away by visible striations of gusting wind. Striations of just gusting wind? Let me check. I'm always up for learning some new words. Let me see how you say that shit. Okay, they won't voice it. So a long thin streak, blah blah, interesting striations in a row. Okay, got it. All right, I'm gusting wind. The swirling lines of wind straightening and becoming the dark purple outlines of sharp spikes protruding from the darkness. Amethyst rivulets? Is that what the fuck that word is? Man, what the hell they be getting these words from? Let me see what this word is. What? Rivulets. Rivulets? God damn. A small stream of water or another liquid. Never heard that shit before in my life. Rivulet. A small stream of water or another liquid. Okay. Why not just say amethyst streams of water trickled down the spikes? I don't know. It don't matter. And dripped from their sharp points into the cool, glassy water. It was blood, though I wasn't exactly certain how I knew. I began to move, walking through the field of spikes as if, it's definitely more creative. All these words I never fucking heard of before in my life. But I guess that's just part of, learning. Anyway, I began to move, walking through the field of spikes as if in a dream. As if in a dream, afraid I might find pinned beneath them. What the hell am I reading? See, I'm not paying attention now. I began to move, walking through the field of spikes as if in a dream, afraid who I might find pinned beneath them. That's crazy. Aaliyah, Tristan, Cynthia, Aaliyah, yeah. Aaliyah. I'm like, who the fuck is Aaliyah? Aaliyah is the Lance, the other Lance that ended up dying, where her fucking eyes gouged out, arms ripped off, legs ripped off. Shit was crazy. It was tragic. Cynthia Goodsky, Aldwin, and Muriel Erlith. Muriel Erlith. Is Muriel Erlith, is that Virian's wife? How the fuck is she saying Virian's wife? Because we don't care about Aldwin and his wife. Fuck them motherfuckers. We don't care about them at all. We don't care about them. So we don't care about seeing their dead bodies hung up for display. Fuck them. We don't care about them. But Muriel's good. I really do think that's Virian's wife. I mean, that's the only Ariel that actually makes sense. Arthur. Wait, she's saying Arthur too? The figure walked beside me in the form of a huge dragon. Wait, Arthur's in the figure of a dragon now? No, that's not Tessia's parents. No. Oh, Aldwin. Oh, you're right. I read that wrong. Aldwin and Mary. Man, don't nobody give a fuck about them though. They can go and be disintegrated somewhere. Like, don't nobody care. They're traitors. They're traitors. Don't nobody care. Fucking. Ugh. Anyway. I get it. Arthur, the figure walked beside me in the form of a huge dragon. Each step sending out. I appreciate the actual tip though. Like you actually commented and letting me know because I was thinking it was somebody else and fucking Aldwin was right there. Aldwin, Mary, fucking God. But you're saying that Arthur is stabbed by spikes though. I guess I'm not reading that. I'm seeing spikes, and she said there's blood. Okay, so anyway, where am I? All right, stepping. Yeah, each step sending out a ripple across the water surface. You remember that many painful lessons of your life, but what you experienced on your spiritual journey was something very different. That insight is woven into the fabric of your being. Yeah, so like your experience is insight. So the things that you go through, you learn from. So yeah, that makes sense. That insight. Well, let me see where. Oh, the figure is walking beside. So the voice that's talking to her is walking beside her in the form of a huge dragon. Now I understand that. Each step sending out a ripple across the water's surface. Okay. You remember that many painful lessons of your life, but what you experienced on your spiritual journey was something very different. That insight is woven into the fabric of your being, not burned into your soft tissue by a specific sequence of firing neurons. So basically, her insight is connected to her spirit. Is how I'm interpreting that. So it's woven into the fabric of your being. The spikes pulsing with each gust of etheric wind that formed them seemed to grow closer and closer no matter where my feet took me. Even when I stopped entirely, soon they were nearly pressing against my skin. This is wild. Agrona and Kezis, they seek this insight, don't they? As I spoke, a spike pressed against my throat. She's not even afraid. Why was I able to gain what other Asuras have tried and failed to do for so long? That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, it has to be because of her circumstances. You know, it's kind of like the same reason why Arthur is able to do the shit that he's doing. I think that it's just from how she grew up, like growing up around Arthur, being connected to Dikathan. Obviously, her making that spell had a huge impact and actually changed her ether path towards Avum instead of Vivum. So yeah, it has to be because of that. I looked at the spikes all around me, but did not feel afraid. Not your fear, theirs. Oh, so it's not. So the spikes represent their fear, not your fear, theirs. Fear has long rooted them in place. Okay, see, look, this is making sense. This is kind of sort of what Agrona already said about how Asuras are like limited and how, I don't know, I'm connecting it towards like the humans being more malleable, right? Because they're able to change, they're able to adapt, they're able to evolve, whereas Asuras stay the same. But she's talking about how Agrona and Kezis are afraid, and their afraid has kept them rooted in place. So I guess their fear has kept them limited in their learning or knowledge of ether and gaining insight. Although Agrona, he's learned quite a bit. He's able to fucking grab other fucking people from another universe and put them in a body in his universe. Like, I mean, that's some advanced ass shit though. So I mean, he might not be that rooted. Kezis has made himself and his people unchangeable. This is literally what I just talked about. So I'm down the right path. My knowledge is solid. Kezis has made himself and his people unchangeable for fear of what change might bring. Oh, so he's afraid of change, which is like afraid of. I think it more so has to do with him being a narcissist and power hungry and want to be in charge, where he fears that if things change, he might not be in charge the way he is right now, and he doesn't want to lose that. So he would rather keep them stable and keep them solid and the same and stay in charge than to potentially change and maybe possibly not be in charge. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Otherwise, otherwise, why not have things change? Unless you're power hungry and you don't want anybody to interfere with that power. Okay, so fear has long ruled them in place. Kezis has made himself and his people unchangeable for fear of. So what this also says to me, because what Agrona was explaining to Cecilia was that how unchangeable the Asuras are, but it also explains to me that Asuras can change. And what I think that Sylvie is a prime example of the Asuras being able to change. So maybe Asuras were never able to bond with another human, but Sylvie changed from her experiences, her mom dying and all that shit, right? She changed and she was able to bond with another human being. So I think that Sylvie is the example of an Asura changing. So Agrona is actually wrong in thinking that Asuras can't change or they're unchangeable and that only humans can change. I think they can. And I think Sylvie is proof of that. That's my theory. Or not even really a theory. That's kind of what's making sense to me based off of everything that's being said. So fear has long rooted them in place. Kezis has made himself and his people unchangeable for fear of what change might bring. Terror of the beyond. Agrona, okay, what's Agrona's fear? In his fear, seeks to change himself at the expense of all others, to burn worlds as fuel for his own ascension. But wait, so what Kezis is afraid of makes perfect sense. Kezis is afraid of change and what change might bring, which my theory is he's afraid that change might bring him not in power anymore. But they said that Agrona, his fear, he seeks to change himself at the expense of all others, to burn worlds as fuel for his own ascension. But that still doesn't really explain what he's afraid of. Is he afraid of getting close to people? Like, why would he be afraid? Like, he's willing to burn and destroy any and everything to get to where he wants to go. But it doesn't explain to me what he's afraid. Is he afraid of not being able to ascend? That part don't make a whole lot of sense. Both are incapable of risk and self-sacrifice. So, like I said before, Sylvie is the example of being able to change because of her experiences. And because of her experiences being connected with Arthur, having that bond, she was willing to sacrifice herself to save him, something that Agrona and Kezis would never even think about doing for a lesser being at that. But she doesn't think about humans as lesser beings. This is part of the changing. And with change becomes higher potential, which is what Agrona was talking about, that humans are able to do. They're able to change, which means that they're able to get to a higher level. Making sense to me. Making sense. So both are incapable of risk and self-sacrifice, and so they are incapable of gaining new insight. All right. We understand. Hopefully I'm explaining that well. I took a step forward, and the spikes in my throat receded. I actually love this chapter. I actually love the fact that it's so like complex, and we're getting a whole lot of information, and so you really got to try to break all this information down based off of everything that we've learned so far to make it all make sense. But I think they're doing a really good job of explaining it to you too. You just got to connect the dots. I took a step forward, and the spike in my throat receded. Wherever I walked, the spikes unfolded away from me. Yeah, they unfolded away from me. But they are the two most powerful beings in this world. What are they both so afraid of? So that's my theory. Okay, so they didn't explain what Agrona was afraid of, and they didn't explain what Kezis is afraid of change. But they didn't explain what Agrona was afraid of. So I think that he's afraid of change because he doesn't want to get usurped from his throne. But I don't know what Agrona is afraid of, though. What are they both so afraid of? Each other? The figure unraveled at the edges. Focus. This is a story for another time and unrelated to what you need. Okay, so basically she only explained that part to let her understand that they're unchangeable, and how being unchangeable relates to being able to gain insight or not being able to gain insight. But if she wants to learn more about what they're afraid of, that's not part of the information that she needs to get herself out of this situation world that she's in. I got it. I got it. That's why she says to focus. I did as the figure commanded, preparing myself to ask a question I already knew the answer to. Okay, let me read your comment really quick. So the dragon is the Sylvia. I don't think that. I mean, it hasn't been revealed that the dragon is Sylvia, but I mean, unless that's like a spoiler. Yeah, he is at the top. There's no need for change for him. Yeah, but he listen. Okay, so here's what I would say though. Kezis is at the top for sure, but this could also be that he's afraid. Not only is he afraid to be, not only is he afraid of change, and I think it's because of him being usurped, right? But he might be afraid of Agrona because he's afraid that Agrona might be the one to usurp him as well. Agrona is afraid of being weak. When Arthur and Agrona talked, he talked himself as nothing in the eyes of. Wait, when Arthur and Agrona talked, he talked about himself as nothing in the eyes of other Asuras. Huh. I wonder if you're referring to when they talked when he was proposing that deal. I wonder what part are you talking about when you said that when you said that Arthur and Agrona talked. Most likely not confirmed. Okay. So you're not spoiling. You just most likely. Okay. Possessing Sylvie for the first time. Okay, so you're talking about that situation. See, I don't remember that conversation. I remember him offering for the the deal and everything. I had to go back to that. Okay. I did as a figure command. Remember, I asked a question that I already knew the answer to. If I'm at risk of unraveling because of all these opposing forces that make me up, then that insight will be lost, right? No, I'm not even going to read, but I think no, because her insight is connected to the fabric of her being, her soul or her spirit. So I don't think it would. Not just you. Wait. What is this? If I'm at risk of unraveling because of all these opposing forces that make me up, then that insight will be lost, right? Not just you. Never just you. You're bonded. Wait, tell me if you remember this. What branch of Ether did Myers say that Arthur was? Did she say that Arthur was part of the Spatium branch? I think that she said that Arthur was part of the Spatium branch. Yes, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. So she gets the Spatium from Arthur. She gets the Vivum from Agrona, and she gets the Avum from Kezis. Okay. Got it. You are bonded. So wait, what does that mean though? If I'm at risk of unraveling because of all these opposing forces that make me up, then that insight will be lost, right? Not just you. What does that mean? Not just you, never just you. So what? She's not going to be the only person that's going to unravel. You are bonded, 3 parts of one whole. Spatium, Vivum, and Avum. Ether, I breathe. Wait. Ether, Arthur and Regis and me. The dragon's neck nodded in his long grip. Wait. Okay. I gotta pause. I gotta pause for a second. Not just you, never just you. You are bonded. Okay, so the bond. So this bond is actually really, really important. This goes back to what I said. Can regular Asuras be bonded with human beings? Maybe they are able to if they're willing to look as a lesser being as not being lesser and being like equals. Maybe then they could bond. Maybe you can only bond from when you're okay. Here's my theory. Maybe you can only bond with another human being as an Asura is born because they're born and they don't have the influence and the life experience from being around other asuras to make them believe that lesser beings are lesser beings. So maybe you can only do it from a youth point of view or from a baby point of view when you don't have those biases, right? You're not biased. So where you're open-minded and you don't look at a human being as a lesser being, maybe then you're able to bond with them. But once you start thinking of lesser beings as lesser beings, you can't bond with them anymore. So maybe that's what made Sylvie special, because from birth she was around Arthur and bonded with them and grew up with them and all the different things. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. But anyway, not just you. I'm loving this chapter though. It's like causing me to think like a lot. But so not just you are bonded. 3 parts of one. Avum, Spatium, Vivum, and Spatium, Vivum, and Avum. Ether, I breathe. Arthur and Regis and me. So what is she saying, that Arthur, Regis, and her are 3 different parts of ether as well? Like, so she's Avum now, and maybe Regis is Vivum. Yeah, maybe Regis is Vivum, she's Avum, and Arthur is Spatium. So maybe she's got the 3 branches from those 3 as well. So not only Agrona, Kezis, what did I say? Agrona, Kezis, and Arthur, but Arthur, Regis, and her, I guess. So Arthur can use all 3 branches in that sense. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Destruction is Vivum. Yeah. I know that. I know destruction is Vivum. I know that's Vivum, right? It's like destroys everything, life or whatever. But maybe he can make it not destroy. Maybe he can like create or some shit. I don't know. But it is destruction. It's literally called destruction. So probably just destroy. But anyway, so that's what I'm thinking. Maybe Arthur is Spatium, Regis is Vivum, and she's Avum. And then also Agrona is Avum. Kezis is Agrona is Vivum. Kezis is Avum, and then Arthur Spatium. So yeah. I think that is what she's saying. The Dragonaut is on graceful neck. With each step, she was passing through spikes that came undone, dissolving into wind and drifting away. I stopped walking through the field of spikes, and the spikes melted like ice. And this is important, necessary for the understanding of fate. All right. The figure's indistinct humanoid face displayed a warm smile. I realized we were standing in a small pool of water now. And by the way, Sylvia does make the most sense. She implanted something to trigger when she goes into the relic tombs. And so that's why this spell happened as soon as she got into the relic tombs, so she can speak to her and give her this understanding that maybe. But then again, this will also mean that, listen for a second, if this is really Sylvie and she implanted some spell or memory that was going to trigger when she goes into the relic tombs, then this would mean that Sylvie understood fate, because she asked her what fate was. She was explaining it, but she couldn't understand it. It was just buzzing sound. But that don't make sense for Sylvia to understand fate. Like, that don't make any sense. But anyway, the figure's indistinct humanoid face displayed a warm smile. I realized we were each standing in a small pool of water now. The etheric wind was forming something between and around us. Long arms above and bowls below containing the water. A central beam between. And I didn't expect this, by the way. I thought we was going to go back to the jungles and Chul was going to be fucking some shit up. But a scale, I muttered, staring at the fulcrum. The figure was a huge dragon again. The scale was much lower on her side than mine. I realized we were standing in a pool of water now. The etheric wind was forming something between and around us. So the wind was forming a scale, long arms above and bowls below, containing the water. A central being between us and a scale, I muttered. Okay. The figure was a huge dragon again. The scale was much lower on her side than mine. Only one who has mastered the paths of Avum, Vivum, and Spatium can begin to understand the 4th edict of fate. So it is the 4th. It is the 4th. I talked about that last chapter. I said that there's literally fire, wind, earth, and water. There's 4 types of mana. Avum, Spatium, Vivum. There has to be a 4th type of ether, and fate just makes the most sense. But you have to understand the first 3 in order to understand the 4th, and it's probably because the 4th is the most powerful. I wonder, is there like if there's like a most powerful of the of mana too? Maybe I think they said fire might have been the most powerful, but then again, how does the void versions of the mana work too, with gravity, sound, lightning? What's the 4th one? Gravity, sound, lightning. Is it magma? No. Is it plant magic? No. Ice. Thank you. Ice. So I'm wondering, is there like void versions of ether? Like if you combine, like, okay, like so like if you combine Avum and Spatium, do you get something new? If you combine Spatium and Fate, do you get another thing new? You see what I'm saying? Like that probably be like even more complex though. That means the power levels can get even further crazy. That's like another way you can make the power levels even more crazy than what they already are. But anyway, but thank you. Yeah. I know the plant and magma are rare. Oh yeah. The dwarves can do magma and the elves can do plant. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, deviant, not void. They're deviant versions. Okay, so anyway, blah blah. So if one who has mastered the paths of Avum, Vivum, and Spatium can begin to understand the 4th edict of fate, but no single being can walk 3 paths at once. But no single being can walk 3 paths at once. Oh, I get this. Okay, I get this now. I'm just like, so what does it mean? So what she's saying is that you can't have 2 paths of ether. You can't walk 2 paths of ether. So it's same thing with what she was explaining about with Sylvie. How Sylvie was on the path of Vivum, but then she got changed because of her experience in Avum from the whole egg and everything. So now she's on the path of Avum. But she can't be on Vivum and be on Avum. But maybe you can though, because remember what she said. You're not only like, it's only impossible until someone can do it. So maybe you can, but nobody's just figured it out yet. But one of the ways of being able to do this is to be bonded. So you can be bonded by having your own path, be bonded towards someone else who has a different path, and then bonded towards another person who has a different path. But then how would that all be able to connect though? But anyway, so only one who has mastered all 3. So here's what I'm wondering though. If you master Avum, can you then switch to Vivum, master Vivum, then switch to Spatium, master Spatium, and then switch to Fate? So maybe you can't walk all 3 paths at once, but you can learn all those paths individually. But then Sylvie said that you can't change paths. But Sylvie is living proof that you can change paths. If your spirit gets enough information from another path, you can change it. But then again, that contradicts though, because if you master one path, then you got the most experience on that one path. And if you try to go to another path that you don't have experience in, your body wouldn't connect to that path because you have the most experience in that one path already. So I don't know. I got to think about that some more. But no single being can walk 3 paths at once. But if 3 were as one, mentally I charted the path of our conversation so far. My mind struck on one point. It comes back to entropy, doesn't it? So things being just, in disarray. The nature of all things times arrow, movement from order to disorder, form to formlessness, the dissolution of structure. The nature of all things times arrow, movement from one order to from movement from order to disorder, form to formless, the dissolution of structure. You're suggesting there is a danger of Arthur Regis and I separating, I thought out loud. So wait, so their bond being separated? So Regis is like really fucking important. I did not expect that. But this all sounds to me like this is all. I'm glad that this was like all pre-planned. Like this is already thought through, and now it's like all making sense to connecting the dots. So Regis wasn't some random thing happening. Because remember, Regis was formed from Arthur, Sylvie, and Sylvia. I think, right? Yeah. Arthur, Sylvie, and Sylvia, because the feather was Sylvia's feather. So yeah, Arthur, Sylvie, and Sylvia. That's what created Regis. Yeah, Regis is extremely important. Shit, my ass hurts. Anyway, so let me see what you said. As we saw from Arthur, they can use multiple classes ether, but master only one at least. That it seems to be the thing they insinuate. Huh. Yeah, because like I don't know. I have to think about that again. So let me keep reading. So you're suggesting there's a danger of Arthur and Regis and I separating. I thought aloud, staring into the figure's empty, wind-drawn eyes. But not all things are divided by entropy. Isn't it also the process by which things combine and settle, becoming more homogeneous? Note that the scales of your understanding have not shifted. Okay. Now I'm a little lost. So let me reread this for a second. The nature of all things times arrow, movement from order to disorder, form to formlessness, the dissolution of structure. So I understand entropy, man. I understand that. But if three were as one, mentally I tried the path of our conversation so far. My mind struck on one point. It comes back to entropy, doesn't it? So are they supposed to combine at some point? Maybe Arthur Regis and Sylvie supposed to combine somehow. We know that Arthur and Regis can kind of combine. The nature of all things, times arrow, movement from order to disorder, form to formlessness, dissolution of structure. I'm gonna just keep reading. You know, it probably make things probably click for me as I keep reading some more. I don't want to be stuck on this for a long time. But you're suggesting there is a danger of Arthur Regis and I separating. I thought out loud, staring into the figure's empty, wind-drawn eyes. But not all things are divided by entropy. So are they saying that entropy divide things and then, but it can also bring things together? Isn't it also, yeah, so yeah, entropy can divide and it can combine, settle and become homogeneous. Note that the scales of your understanding have not shifted. Think deeper, farther. I struggle to see where this could be going or why it was important enough for me to be speaking with an how the fuck is that let me say how the fuck do you say this word? How do you say this word? Ephemeral. Okay, there you go. Lasting for a very short time. Fashions are ephemeral. I didn't know that. I didn't know how you. I've heard that word before, but I never know that's how you spell. I can't spell for shit, so that makes sense. Nameless figure in my mind. That may or may not be the disembodied spirit. Oh, so she already kind of thinking that is her mother's spirit. It may or may not be the disembodied spirit of my mother communicating to me through the etheric realm. Still, I tried. You're saying that I have to hold myself together, literally or figuratively, hold yourself together. You're saying that I have to hold myself together against these opposing forces, the ones threatening. Oh, so this is like literally and figuratively, like pulling them apart, separating them from each other, right? You're going to join my side, or you're going to join my side, or I'm going to use you, or I'm going to use you. but also pulling them apart and figuratively, like them like connecting, like mentally, like them being on the same wavelength, that type of connection type of thing, or their bond or something like that. Okay, so but I also have to hold us together. You're saying that I have to hold myself together to against these opposing forces, the ones threatening to pull us to pieces, but I also have to hold us together. Regis is chaos, the living. Regis is Vivim. Regis is chaos, the living, embodiment of entropy. So chaos, entropy, craziness. Let me look up entropy one more time really quick, because entropy is very important to this. It's fucking bitch. I gotta move. Thermodynamic. Richard. Ah, shit. Can I like? No. Blah, blah, blah. All right, give me just 1 second. I gotta move this for a second. Okay. Thermodynamic quantity representing the unavailability of a system's thermal energy for conversion into mechanical work, often interpreted as a degree of disorder, randomness in the system. So disorder, but it's also random. The second law of thermodynamics says that entropy always increases with time. Okay, gotcha. So randomness, okay. Disorder, randomness, okay. I just want to make sure I go back and read, because entropy is really important. So Regis is chaos, the living embodiment of entropy. Destruction manifests. Wait. Regis is chaos, the living embodiment of entropy. Destruction manifests. Okay, so that's all part of Regis. Destruction manifests. Arthur is a smile. So Arthur is okay. So Arthur is space. He's spatial. So is Arthur representing? Like being connected, being like formed together. She's gonna explain it, but I'm just kind of thinking. Arthur is I smile, feeling my eyes wrinkle at the corners. Still so very human. He's already proven once that he'll rip himself to pieces, cell by cell, to defeat his enemies. Fucking the motherfucker jumped into a volcano to train. The motherfucker, like, what's Regis always call him? He's called he's a not fucking shit. Fucking a masochist or some shit like that. Masochist, he's fucking masochist. So Regis is chaos, the living embodiment of entropy, destruction manifests. Arthur is a smile. So what is Arthur then? He's already proven once that he'll rip himself to pieces, cell by cell, to defeat his enemies, burn himself up from the inside if he has to. His sense of self-preservation is lacking. The scale shifted slightly closer to equilibrium through the humanoid's figure, though the humanoid's figure was still standing up at me for some. So the more she understands, the more the scales balance. So right now it's unbalanced, and then she's like learning more because she's thinking about Regis, then she's thought about Arthur, and then boom. So maybe when she thinks about herself, it'll balance, and then she'll gain that much more insight. This has to be something that Sylvia like put in her to have this trigger. She goes to the relic tombs. But then again, okay, I just thought about this. This is probably the reason why maybe Sylvie can enter the relic tombs, is because she's changed. Because she's not like your typical Asuras. She's changed. She's bonded with a human being. She's connected. And so maybe the reason why Asuras are not able to go inside the relic tombs is not because they're Asuras, but because they're unchanging, because they're lacking, because they aren't able to be bonded and change enough to be able to go inside there. But humans can, because humans naturally are able to change. And that's why Agrona is looking, for a human to be able to get that more power or whatever the fuck. The same thing that he explained to Cecilia. So maybe that's the reason why Sylvie can go inside, because she's not the same. She's bonded. She's changed. She changed her path of ether. Like, that's the reason why it doesn't repel her and push her away, because she's not the same as the rest of them. This is making so much sense to me now. The scale shifted slightly closer to equilibrium, though the humanoid figure was still looking up at me from several feet. So I'm Avum, aligned now, I said, feeling understanding coming a little more easily. Avum is time. But they didn't understand. Wait. But they didn't explain what Arthur was. If Regis is entropy, entropy manifested, destruction, the living embodiment of entropy, and Regis is Vivum, and Arthur is spatium, time, right? Or not time. Arthur is space, right? I don't know what else goes on with space. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot what goes on with space, but he doesn't have a good sense of self-preservation, right? He defeats his enemies. He goes through whatever it is he needs to do in order for him to, achieve what he's trying to achieve. Okay, so I'm Avum. Okay, I said, feeling understanding coming a little more easily. Time may be an arrow, but I can slow its flight, bend it even, to ensure that we remain together long enough to finish this. Okay. So she can bend time or slow its flight to keep them together. Because if it flies too fast, maybe they get broken apart. Even as I said these words, they conjured in my mind a time after, when we weren't together, and my concentration snapped like a frayed rope. The scales dissolved, and once again, the figure and I were standing atop the water. My feet sank slightly, just breaking the surface, and the etheric wind swirled into meaningless chaos. Oh, so is she thinking about what would happen if they're able to break apart and not be together, and how chaotic it would be? An artist's rendition of discord and disarray drawn in violet lines against the deep purple sky. The breath caught in my lungs, and each quickened heartbeat pulsed through the water and the sky. The etheric wind and even the giant demonic figure watching me with what I thought was sympathy. You aren't ready yet. To lose concentration now would be catastrophic. Wait. So what just happened then? Let me go back. So she just said that she's Avum. Time may be an arrow, but she can slow its flight. She can slow its flight and bend it even to ensure that they remain together long enough to finish this. Okay. But even as I said these words, they conjured in my mind a time after. Oh, so she's saying, like, as she said these words, they conjured in her mind a time after. So, like, after everything's done, she's afraid that they won't be together. Even as I said these words, they conjured in my mind a time after when we weren't together. So I think that this what is maybe, and my concentration snapped. So, okay, so this is fear. This is fear. That's what this is. This is fear. So she was focused. She was focused on learning, but then her mind went to a time when they weren't together anymore. And then that fear sunk in and it snapped her concentration. That's what I'm thinking. And then there's chaos. And then I guess the voice is saying you aren't ready yet. To lose concentration now will be catastrophic. The harder I tried to hold on to my focus, the more violently it seemed to resist me. What is too rigid will break under force. That which is too palpable and allows too much freedom of movement can be torn or peeled away. See, I was just going to think that too. That's so crazy that they said that. So what is too rigid will break under force. What is too palpable, am I saying this right? I think I might be saying this right. I might not be saying this right, though. Easily bent, flexible. Yeah, I think that's pliable, right? Pliable. What the fuck is wrong with me? Pliable. I said palpable. This is why I was like, am I saying this shit right? Pliable. I know what it meant, but I just didn't know how to say the shit. Whoo. Pliable. Okay. So what I was going to say was, I was going to say that what is too rigid will break under force. So my mind went straight to like, oh, you got to let it be free flowing, right? Let it like flow freely and don't like try to control it. Remember, that was what one of the gens said with Arthur about ether. He said that stop trying to control ether. You know, like don't like try to control it like how you did with mana. You got to like let it flow or something like that. That which is too pliable and allows too much freedom of movement can be torn or peeled away. Control, balance. That is what you are. So, okay. Here's what I'm understanding. So maybe what they're explaining is that she is the balance of Arthur and Regis. So Regis is chaos. Regis is chaos trying to just like rip everything apart and trying to just, fuck everything up, right? So Regis is chaos trying to rip everything apart. He's the embodiment of entropy. Chaotic, uncontrollable, destruction. But then Arthur he's like too tightly wound together. He's like too rigid. And so she has to be that balance in order to keep everything together. Because if Arthur allows himself to be too rigid, he's going to break, right? And it kind of talks about like him breaking mentally, him letting his body break down, him being too focused and just too rigid and not what is it? Not caring about himself or whatever. But then Regis doesn't give a fuck, and he's just like destroying everything. And then she's the balance. That's how I'm interpreting this. She's the balance of the two to keep everything together. So she has to. So in a sense, she has to be mentally the strongest out of all of them to keep everything together. So that which is too pliable and allows too much freedom of movement can be torn or peeled away. Control, balance. That is what you are and what you must find. I clenched my teeth and shut my eyes, frustrated that it failed to block out the vision. A moment to adjust, to recover. That was all I asked. I swallowed heavily. All things come to an end, I said. So this is her. Okay. So got another tangent. So this is her reconciliation to her fear of a time when they're not together anymore. She's afraid of Regis and Arthur and just all of them not being together anymore. And that's why her mind like lost concentration. But then now she's bringing it all together and she's reconciling and understanding that everything must come to an end. So don't be afraid of things you not being together anymore, because it's all going to end. You just need to cherish and appreciate the time that you have together. And I guess just try to keep it together for as long as you can. And then when it's time to go, just let it go. But as we master Avum, Vivum, and Spatium, as we seek insight into the edict of fate, maybe there's an edict of love. Maybe if you combine fate with something else, you get love. I don't know. A deviant version. When we get to control, wait. Okay, so as we seek insight into the edict of fate, we get to control when the end is. Okay, that makes sense. If you can master fate, then you should be able to control when the end is. So if she wanted to, she could keep them together forever. But then she just said all things come to an end. So maybe that's not quite accurate. My breathing calmed again. I opened my eyes and stared into the figure's indistinct face. And for every end, there are new beginnings. Ends don't have to be something to fear. I was spot on. She was afraid of them not being together anymore. She was afraid of the end. But then she's understanding that the end doesn't mean that it's gone. It means that it can be a new beginning. So there's no need to be afraid of the end. I'm understanding this shit, man. Jagged lines straightened and formless mass began to take shape. It was a deeply comfortable place, one that made me want to curl up in a ball and take a long nap atop my bond's head. Arthur and Elijah's bedroom within the Helstius estate. On all fours, I hopped up on the bed, walked in a circle around Arthur's pillow, and then curled up atop it. The woman rested gracefully at the foot of the bed, watching me. The etheric realm. It is how things end, isn't it? I mused sleepily. As pure energy, when every okay. So the etheric realm, the ether realm that Arthur went into, that third dimension or whatever, it is how things end. As pure energy, when everything else has come apart, the universe separated down to its base. That's why ether is so potent for the creation of things. But also why the Relatunes is degrading. As pure energy, when everything else has come apart, so everything breaks apart from entropy, everything breaks apart, and you're just left with pure energy. As pure energy, the universe separated down to its base. That is why ether is so potent for the creation of things. Because like when things get broken down, you can use that pure energy to create things and bring it back together, right? So things break down, the end, and then the new beginning. You use those particles of ether to make more things again. It's kind of how I'm interpreting it. That's why ether is so potent for the creation of things. Because I guess something has to be destroyed in order for you to create, but also why the Relatunes is degrading. It is against the nature of that place to maintain form and function. So I guess it's degrading. So hold on. The Relatunes degrading is against the nature of that place to maintain form and function. So I guess it has to degrade because it's against it goes against ether. So it has to break apart and maybe reform, or maybe it doesn't reform. Maybe you need somebody to manipulate it to reform. She nodded, her eyes leaving me and traveling around the blurry recreation of Arthur's room. But it remembers what it was. You know what this shit reminds me of? The Stormlight Archives. It reminds me of the Stormlight Archives. It reminds me of the what the fuck are they called? It reminds me of the that world in the Stormlight Archives where it's these bees, and these bees are connected to the real world, and they have life, but they remember what they were even when they're destroyed. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of these like millions and millions of these bees, like a piece of furniture or a house, something like that. In the other world, that house is like a bead, and that bead has consciousness, and it remembers what it was created to do, even if you destroy it. That's what it reminds me of. So the ether remembers what it was, even if it was broken down or destroyed from entropy or something like that. That's why we can. Okay, so she nodded, her eyes leaving me around. Okay, but it remembers what it was, the ether. That's why we can create spell forms, even the God runes. They are an expression of that held memory. Insight made manifest. I think I'm understanding this. So the ether, that's why we can create spell forms, even the God runes. They're an expression of that held memory. Insight made. So yeah, so I guess it remembers what it was. So ether is like broken down. See, now I'm a little confused for a second. As pure energy, when everything else has come apart, the universe separated down to its base. So the etheric realm is pure energy. But they say that the etheric realm is how things end. As pure energy, when everything else is coming. Let me see what you're saying, because I know you've been helping me out, Helios. Arthur is okay. Hold on, you said a lot. As we saw from Arthur, okay. Entropy equals lack of order, predictability, gradual decline into disorder. Right. Arthur is spatium. Regis is villain. So yeah, I got that part. They are bonded, so as 3 and 1, they can reach fate. I got that part. Normally impossible, as no one can master all three either enter, but as bonded theory. I get that part, but I was more so thinking about like how they could do it. Like, do they have to combine? Do they have to make a spell together? Or maybe, oh, what it probably is probably insight. Her insight, Arthur's insight, Regis' insight, them all being bonded, they can hear each other's thoughts, can feel each other's emotions. That's what allows them to know all those things together to be able to understand fate. That's probably what it is. That's probably what it is. So they don't have to like combine and make a spell together or anything like that. From them having the insight from their own path and them being bonded and being connected, that's how they can do it. So theoretically, all three of them could actually learn fate. Anyway, I'm trying to understand this ether shit though. So the etheric realm is how things end. As pure energy, when everything else has come apart, the universe separated down to its base. That's why ether is so potent for the creation of things, but also why the relatives is degrading. Yeah, so the ether realm is the end. It's pure energy. When everything else is coming apart, that's why the ether is so potent for the creation of things, but also why the relatives is degrading. It's against the nature of that place to maintain form and function. Yeah. So that makes sense. So the relatives is like ether, and it has to break apart. Okay. She nodded, her eyes leaving me and traveling around a blurry recreation of Arthur's room. But it remembers what it was, the ether. That's why we can create spell forms. So it remembers that it was like used for things. Ether is a base component of all things. Yeah, I mean, I get that. So so like the ether is the energy, and you can use it to create things. That's why we can create spell forms in God rooms. They're an expression of that held memory, insight made manifest. Knowledge of the spell forms is housed in Jinn. Knowledge of the spell forms is housed in Jinn. Crafted implements, but the God rooms, I had to stop to really think. It was getting so hard. I just wanted to rest, to sleep. Okay, so if the knowledge of the spell forms is housed in the Jinn, so then that's their memory. So then the God rooms, are the God rooms housed in like the Saurus? I just want the etheric realm. All of the knowledge of any form. Wait. All the knowledge of any form ether has ever taken. All the knowledge of any form ether has taken, like a sleeping god. As Arthur's understanding of specific edicts grows, oh, so like the more God runes he gets, the more knowledge he understands from those specific edicts of ether. So like God step is an edict of a spatium. I think it's an edict of spatium. So he's like as he understands it more, because remember he had to like he had to master God step in a sense with 3 steps. When he did his training with 3 steps, he got a better understanding of spatium with God step. But then Aurora's Requiem, I believe Aurora's Requiem is time. So as he gets a better understanding of time, because remember, with Aurora's Requiem, he could have like rewound time and like brought people back to life, healed injuries as if they never even happened. Like he had all this potential. So what this also says to me is that he could probably still potentially be able to do some shit like that if he gets a better understanding of Aurora's Requiem, because he hasn't really gotten any more insight into Aurora's Requiem at all, but he has gotten more insight into God step, right? That's why he was able to jump and teleport further and further away. That's when he started to realize that he doesn't need to see like the branches and the paths are like everywhere. And that's also the reason why like he didn't really need to see where he was going to where he can like God step into areas that he hasn't even seen before. Back when he was with Kara and he God stepped inside the room without actually seeing the inside of the room. I think it was Regis. He kind of like gave him a visual, thoughts of like how the area was like scoped or whatever, and he was able to God step inside without like breaking the lock or whatever. Okay, so he's got spatial with God step. He's got but he also has Vivim with destruction. But Vivim is like split up because he has part of the destruction's understanding, but Regis has the other part of destruction's understanding. So maybe destruction wouldn't be a good one for Vivim. So he's got time. He got Avon with Aurora's Requiem. He's got spatial with God Step. But what is Realm Heart? Is Realm Heart? I don't know what Realm Heart is. Realm Heart is Vivim? That makes sense. Because his only other path of Vivim would be destruction. But he doesn't have the full understanding of destruction because Regis has the other half. So that means that he needs something else to go down the path and get more insight because he can't do it with destruction because he doesn't have the whole thing. So Aurora's Requiem being Vivim, that makes sense. So then, wait. So, but that doesn't mean that it's done though, because he doesn't just have one of each, right? Because destruction is like half. So he doesn't have because he has that new keystone, and that new keystone is going to give him another edict, another God rune. So he's going to get another God rune that's going to be Vivim, Spatium, or Avum, right? So he still can learn more. So maybe he needs to learn multiple edicts or multiple God runes to be able to get a full understanding of that specific branch. Maybe that's what it is. And exactly, and there's the lost keystone. So that lost keystone is going to have information about another edict, or not edict, but another branch of, or not branch, another spell form or God rune that's going to give him more insight into another. So maybe he needs two. Maybe he needs two apiece. Maybe that's what he needs. So if he masters God step, that's one part of spatial, and he masters another one, that's another part. And then maybe those two combined would give him enough insight to be able to master spatial. So where spatial is done. And then Aurora's Requiem was time. He masters that, and then he gets another God rune, and that's going to be time. And then he's good with mastering time. And then Vivim, destruction is half and half, so you can't really understand that. Aurora's Requiem, that's Vivim. He can understand that and master that. And then maybe he gets another one. I'm just throwing out theories out there. I'm just throwing out theories. So maybe that's what it is. He needs to master spatial, but with only God stuff, he doesn't seem. So yeah, so maybe, so like I said, maybe so you're kind of thinking the same way I am. Maybe he needs two. So the etheric realm, all the knowledge of any form ether. This is almost 2 hours. God damn. All the knowledge of any form ether has ever taken, like a sleeping god. As Arthur's understanding of specific edicts grows, the ether remembers and forms a God rune. As Arthur's understanding of specific edicts grow, the ether remembers and forms a God rune. Wow. But this only happens for him because of his connection with the ether. The Jinn remnant said he was unique, that the ether saw him as kin in a way. Right. And you know what this is because of? This is because of his ether core. Because his ether is like a purified version of ether, which is kind of crazy because if ether by itself is energy and it has the memories of what it was formed, then his purified ether is like, because they said it was more of a bond to Arthur. So it's like, I guess it's more bonded to him. So maybe it's his ether that forms it. It's not just the regular ether that's in the atmosphere. It's his purified ether that forms a God rune because of his connection with him, because of it looking at him as like kin. That's pretty fucking crazy. And this is only possible because of him being able to make an ether core. The etheric realm, the knowledge of any form of ether has ever taken, like a sleeping god. Arthur's understanding of edicts grows, and ether remembers and forms a god room. But remember, though, Arthur didn't. So hold on. So maybe he doesn't need the keystones just to be able to get enough information to be able to unlock a god room. Because remember, if I'm remembering this right, when he learned God Step, he didn't learn God Step from a keystone or anything like that. He learned God Step from him using Burst Step. And he was fighting with the jinn, and he was remembering. I think he was either doing Burst Step or he was remembering Burst Step, and then that like gave him the knowledge to use God Step. Yeah, so he had to gain insight. And he got the insight from his previous information, which is what they talked about, is from your knowledge, your experience. He learned it from his previous experience, and then that's why God Step took on the image of like lightning, because that's how he perceived it. He perceived it as like lightning, teleporting or whatever the fuck. So yeah, so he didn't get that from a keystone. So maybe he doesn't need the actual keystones just to form. Well, it's proven that he doesn't need keystones in order to form God runes. He just needs to get more insight, and so that can come from a bevy of different things. Okay, let me keep reading. So it's because of his connection with the ether. The Jinn remnant said he was unique, that ether saw him as kin in a way. Again, a simple nod. Outside Arthur's window, a horned owl flew past. But if I'm in danger right now, so maybe she's in danger of like splitting up. Understanding this isn't helping me. I paused, looking more closely at the figure. She was a giant demoness. Yeah, demoness again. I guess that's how you say that. But still resting gracefully on top of the bed. Her broad, frightening visage, silent and watchful. I think that's how you say that. But she was unraveling at the edges. Oh, is she about to leave? And it has been some time since she's spoken. I had grown distracted. Oh, yeah, because she gets fuzzy and dizzy whenever she gets distracted. I had grown distracted. Whatever connection was holding our minds together was coming undone. Standing suddenly, I physically shook off the sense of comfort I felt. Comfort meant compliance. Or, let me see how the fuck. That's not compliance. Complacence. I knew that fucking word. I knew the word. Anyway, compliance. Complacence. I said compliance again. And complacence or complacency. Complacency. I knew it. Anyway, was the death of growth. She said it before. Insight required risk. Arthur, he risked everything. He don't have no problem with risk. But more than that, growth required pain. The bed dissolved into individual thread. I'm reading this shit. It seems so long, but it's just because of me talking and thinking about all this. The bed dissolved into individual threads of wind, and I landed on all fours on the water surface. Wind-drawn walls, windows, and furniture alike untold and billowed away. I stood, returning to my own humanoid form. The demoness or demoness. Let me just make sure I'm saying this shit right. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. Okay, apparently you can't define that. Became a dragon again, each scale gusting and distorted. The bright lines of etheric wind carved themselves into the rough stone walls of ravine. Or yeah, that's how I say that. The water beneath me began to pop and bubble as it glowed with a bright, violent light. And a slow, controlled motion, I began sinking into the floor. The sensation was purely mental anguish, and it woke me from my drowsing completely, setting my mind alight at a cellular level. I let out a hissing, pain-filled breath, imagining the water turned lava, boiling the insight from my bones and releasing it into the atmosphere, where I could see it manifest in the scenery around me. That's pretty fucking crazy. So literally, she has to imagine the water turn into lava and boiling the insight from her bones to make like some sort of manifest scenery. God damn. The dragon watched from above, her long neck craning down from atop the ravine halls, her expression unreadable. I have to understand my new power or I'll die, I said, reciting the problem as if reading it from a book. Yeah. If I die, Arthur would fail to gain insight into the Edict of Fate because she wouldn't be able to balance everything. I let myself sink lower, the etheric lava now all the way up to my neck. Time. Time is an arrow, but through the path of Avum, I can influence that arrow, right? That's how we understand it. Bend it to avoid or strike a target at will, or she can slow it down. The insight I gained while experiencing Arthur's past life is written on my spirit. That's right. She's literally summarizing everything I just explained. The insight I gained while experiencing Arthur's past life is written on my spirit. I slipped entirely beneath the surface. The pain wiped away or wiped every thought and impulse from my mind, except for one immediate idea. The reclamation of that subconscious understanding of Avum and the ether's impact on time. I had to reconnect my body and spirit. Right. So, okay, I kind of get it. I kind of get what she's saying. So because of her changing her edict from Vivum to Avum, she has to reconnect her body to this new spirit. So her spirit and her body aren't the same because her body is still Vivum and her spirit is still Avum. And so she has to reconnect it to get it to join together. That's how I'm understanding this. Make sense of all the many aspects of myself that were contradictory in nature. I understand that I am both dragon and basilisk, the result of the lines of Indrath and Vrutra. This is my lineage, but it is not my identity. I chose to be something. I choose to be something beyond either of them. I choose to be unafraid. I appreciate that I am an Asura, a so-called greater being, so-called, bonded to a human. And this is important because you can't change if you think that you're better than everybody else, which is why the Asuras are stuck where they're at. I appreciate that I'm an Asura, a so-called greater being, bonded to a human, a lesser. Arthur is the third choice, the last hope, humanity's ascension. There is no shame in my service to him because through it, the very idea of greater and lesser beings will be made meaningless. Exactly, because he's an anomaly. And she's an anomaly. Let me not forget that. I accept that I am order from chaos, spontaneous rebirth, the bond that holds against the inevitable. I am what the rest of my kind are not, changeable. I literally explained all this to you, so I gave you the information before she did. I had my time, and I gave everything I was, and now my time has come again. Yeah, so she was reborn. I am guardian and guide, caution and fury, daughter. Okay, hold on. Let me break this down. This is cool. I am guardian and guide. So maybe what she's saying is that she's guardian, as in like she's the guardian of Arthur, and guide. So maybe she like guide, meaning like she guides the arrow. Maybe that's what she's talking about. Like the arrow being ether, and she like guides it. Caution and fury. So she's like, I wonder if that has to do with Regis, because fury could probably be Regis, but then caution could be, I don't know. I'm really trying to think about this. Daughter and partner, that's easy. She's the daughter of Agrona. She's a daughter of Sylvia. She's the granddaughter of Kessis, but she's also Arthur's partner. Maybe this all have to do with her and Arthur. She guards Arthur. She's the guardian, but she also guides Arthur. Maybe that's what it is. She guards Arthur, but then she also guides him, right, to keep him on the right path, so he doesn't like break and all this other shit. He doesn't go back to how he used to be during Grey, right? Caution and Fury. So like but Caution is Furious was fucking me up though. So like Fury meaning like she's able to tell him like she's able to know like when he should act and when he should be cautious. Like because she also tells him like, listen, calm down, like think about this or whatever. But Fury though, daughter and partner, that's easy. But then daughter is the I don't know. I am not my mother's mistake or my father's tool. I am not my grandfather's treasure to be hoarded or weapon to be swung. I reject the role required of birth clans. I reject the role required of my birth clans, and I refuse the name of Indrath or bro. She's Sylvie Lewin. Oh, that's dope. That's so dope. They literally just changed. Bro, that's so crazy. They literally just changed her from Sylvie Indrath, and now she's Sylvie Lewin. That's so that I like that. That's really nice. So she's literally reawakened, rebirth as Sylvie Lewin. That's really fucking cool. That's really fucking cool. I'm guardian and guide, caution and fury, daughter and partner. I am not my mother's mistake or my father's tool. I am not my grandfather's treasure to be hoarded or weapon to be swung. I reject the role required of my birth clans, and I refuse the name Indrath or Vritra. I'm deciding I am a Lewin. I burst up from the etheric lava, pressing against this bubbling surface as I dragged myself onto my hands and knees. So here, okay. Here's what I have to say though. When she finally wakes up from all this, I'm really curious how much time has passed. Are they going to like completely skip everything that Arthur and Chul and Kara and Ellie, what all they went through trying to get out of the relic tombs, the part that they're in, right? The forest. Is she gonna wake up and they're like gonna be like about to leave? Or is she gonna wake up and it's gonna be like, wait, you literally was just on Regis's back and then or no, Boo's back, and then now you woke up and you got all this information now and you know who you are. I'm wondering when they're gonna like how much time is gonna pass when they resume. That's what I'm wondering. I burst up from the etheric lava, pressing against its bubbling surface as I dragged myself onto my hands and knees, and then stood trembling to my feet. The ravine walls were collapsing, wind spinning like stones that bounced from one another, then fluttered away as birds and butterflies. The ground was mirror smooth again, and the wind calmed, then vanished entirely. I was standing alone atop the infinite expanse of water under an endless etheric sky. The figure was nowhere to be seen, though. Wait. The ground was mirror smooth again, the wind calm, vanished entirely. I was standing alone atop the infinite expanse of water under an endless etheric sky. The figure was nowhere to be seen, though I thought I could still sense her, feel her like breath on the back of my neck. My reflection was looking up at me from the floor. This taller, leaner frame I had returned within, my face sharper, older, like I was Arthur's. Like I was Arthur's. Our hair and eyes almost making us look like twins. I leaned down, peering more closely. There was more of Arthur in my reflection than I had remembered. Almost as if, like she's like combined with Arthur. So like she's half Arthur. Okay. Arthur's half human or half him, and then half Sylvie, right? Half Asura, Basilisk, whatever. And then she's half Asura, half Arthur, or half human, or whatever Arthur is, whatever. So maybe that's what happened. I gasped, sinking down onto my hands, staring within my reflection. Arthur was staring back at me, kind but serious, urgent but patient. He was speaking slowly, calmly, calling to me. I couldn't hear his words, but I could understand his meaning. They needed me. He needed me. The waterfall bulged upward. Arthur's hands, his voice, his presence was pushing through into the mental world I'd become trapped through, or trapped within. I let my hands sink through the water and interlaced my fingers with his. This is sweet, man. This is sweet. And it's not creepy or anything like that. Like it's literally just like a bond. Like a true bond. They need each other. Okay. I think I understand this chapter. I probably got to reread the ether part, with the ether being like, I guess, energy, and with the whole, it remembers what it was. But I understand this. I understand what's going on. Sylvie Lewin has awakened. And this was a phenomenal chapter. And I guess I really like this chapter a lot just because of just how much insight we gained from reading this chapter. And so we've learned a lot. And a lot of things that are like little bits and pieces of everything is all making a lot more sense as to what fate is, what ether is, the importance of Sylvie and Regis and Arthur, understanding the Asuras and why they're so limited and why they can't gain influence, understanding Kezis, what he's afraid of, Agrona, what he's afraid of, how special Sylvie is with like being drawn in different directions. Yeah. See, I don't think it's more like a father. I think it's more like a sister. That's what I think. I think she thinks of Arthur more like a sister than more of a father. Like how she took on his name, like his last name. But he could be though. But she said she's his guardian though. Like that's not what a father does. The father is the one that guards their offspring, not the other way around. So I think it's more of an equal relationship. That's why I just say sister. Sister makes more sense to me. Daughter and partner. So both? Okay. So maybe both. Maybe it's daughter and partner. See, you did. See, now you're making me rethink. Now the Papa. Man. Oh, hold on. See, now I'm thinking maybe it's more father than daughter, or no, maybe more father than like sister. I'm gonna still say both, just because of what she said, daughter and partner. So it's not your traditional father-daughter relationship. Obviously, it's not traditional. It's more of a partnership. So I'm gonna just say both. I'm gonna just leave it at both. So she's like his daughter, but then also like his. But partner is more like wife, though. So, that's weird, though. I don't know. Could she be his daughter and wife, or spouse, or part? See, I'm gonna just go with sister. Sister makes more sense. Like daughter and sister. Daughter, yeah, I think daughter and sister though. I don't know, man. It's not. See. I guess it's hard for me to not think of it in a traditional sense, because I'm really not trying to get like any weirdness from it, because that's not how it's like expressed. But she's definitely half Arthur, half Sylvie, or half Arthur. They definitely got halves of each other. They got both halves of each other, right? So they got halves of each other. He's half of her, she's half of him. So they're bonded, they're half of each other, they're daughter, partner, everything. They're everything. I'll just put it like that. But yeah, I really like the chapter. It really gives you a better insight into just how everything's all connected. It really explains a lot, actually. It explains a whole lot. This is really good, man. I don't know how anybody can hate this chapter, because if you really read it and you really like grasp what they're saying, it makes sense. Like everything with the different branches of ether, how fate is the fourth branch of ether. You know, you got avum, spatium, vivum, and then fate, and that makes perfect sense. With like the influence of ether, why they can influence it, and why Arthur's ether is different from the rest of the ether, because he has the ether core, and he's more like the ether look at him as more as kin, so they like listen to him more, or they have more of a bond. You know, it's more of a bond. It's not like I control you. It's like we're bonded together, and like I want to do what you say, type of thing. So that makes sense. Like, yeah, I don't see how anybody can hate this chapter, because like there's some things I don't like about this story, such as Cecilia, but there's so many other things that I do love about this story. And just Arthur as a character. Now we're learning more about Sylvie. Sylvia as a character, her purpose. Got Regis, got Alice, the potential. So I wonder, what does all this mean now going forward, though? So we know that Arthur, he doesn't need a keystone, because you said it before, Helios. You said it before that he didn't need, like, he created not God Step. He created destruction. Destruction wasn't given from any of the keystones. So he created destruction, and he also created God Step. He did not create Aurora's Requiem. That was insight from the keystone, which is from the Jinn that he learned to be able to create. I mean, he did create it, but it didn't come from his knowledge. It came from someone else's knowledge. That's what I'm saying. So he got the knowledge about Aurora's Requiem from the Jinn. He got the knowledge about Realm Heart from another Jinn. He created destruction, and he created God Step. So we're also learning about he needs to master all three branches of ether before he can gain insight into fate. Now, I guess what we need to learn more is like, what does he need? Like, how much, or what does he need to do to completely master one branch of ether, right? So you got God Step. God Step is a branch of spatial. So we don't know if he's completely mastered God Step. God Step is his most mastered ability, I would say. I believe that he's mastered God Step more than he's mastered destruction, which he barely understands because he only has half of it, right? Regis shares the other half. We haven't seen any more insight into Aurora's Requiem. We haven't seen any more insight into Realm Heart, and we haven't seen any more insight into what's the other one? Aurora's Requiem, Destruction, Realm Heart, God Step. Those are the four that he knows. So yeah, so we haven't seen any more insight into that. So I think that God Step is the one that he understands and he's mastered the most. And you know why? It just dawned on me. He's probably learned God Step the fastest and got more insight into that because that's what he's naturally inclined to. That's his natural affinity. So that's probably why he learns Spatium a lot easier than all the other edicts. So man, so this is all making so much sense now. So so we don't know if he's mastered Spatium yet, but that's the one he has the most insight, the most experience in. So he just needs to learn more about the other edicts. And I'm guessing that's where Sylvie's skill is so important. So now that Sylvie's back, I think that he might be able to better understand Avum, which would be time, which will be Aurora's Requiem. So maybe he might gain some sort of insight with Aurora's Requiem with what Sylvie knows. You know, once she's like bonded the soul back together or whatever. So maybe she can use her insight to give him more insight to where he can progress with Aurora's Requiem. Because if he can start fucking rewinding time and bringing shit back, man, that would be crazy. Now he probably might not be able to bring people back to life, but maybe he can regenerate wounds or some shit. I don't know. I don't know. It could be some potential. But so they're Regis. Oh, that's probably why Regis got part of destruction, because destruction is Vivum, and that's what Regis is. So that's probably the reason why Regis was able to use destruction better than Arthur can. And that's probably the reason why he like took half of it and couldn't give it back. That makes more sense to me now too. Okay. So Aurora's Requiem got time. God Step, you got Spatium. Destruction, you got Vivim. But then Realm Heart is also Vivim. That's what you told me. You told me Realm Heart was also Vivim. So then maybe there's something that Regis can do with Realm Heart that can give him more insight. I don't think he's talked to Regis about Realm Heart at all either. So maybe that's what he needs to do. But then he also got the Keystone. That's going to probably give him some more insight to create another God room. We don't know what edict that's going to be. So, okay. So that's cool. So what do you say? He is spatial line, so he would not grow much more on Destruction, Aurora's Requiem, etc. Yeah, he saw what fully mastered Aurora's Requiem can do, but couldn't reach it because Avum is not his powerful side. He was really bad at Static Void too. Right. Yeah, because Static Void was time. That's right. So I guess my question is this then. So with my theory is he needs to use Sylvie and Regis to get a better understanding of the other edicts, because that's what she said. Like they need to, like they have the bond, they have their connection, because that's the way they're going to be able to master all three. Is they're going to do it through Arthur, right? And so sharing their experience, sharing their insight, that's what's going to get him more insight to be able to master it. That's the only way I can see this being possible. So I guess my question now is, we haven't seen them able to do it yet, but how can Regis and Sylvie use their insight to give Arthur more insight into mastering those edicts? Because, I mean, I don't know. Destruction is so weird because Arthur has half of it. That's what he said. He has half of the knowledge, and then Regis has the other half. So how does that work? Does Arthur need to give Regis the full half, and then Regis would then be able to fully understand Destruction to where he'll be able to like give the insight to Arthur to be like, look, this is how I understand it. Like once you gave me the other half of the insight, now I fully understand Destruction. Now Destruction doesn't take complete control of me anymore. Because remember the one time, even Regis, the Destruction was taking control of him back when they was in the Relic Tombs with the with Broke Beak and the 3 steps and all the different the snowy mountains or whatever. Remember they was fighting that big, what was it, like monster or whatever, and Regis was like going crazy because he was in Destruction for too long and he was losing sight of himself. So maybe if Arthur can somehow give Regis his insight, Regis can have a full control over Destruction, and then he won't be able to get controlled by Destruction anymore, and he can he actually can control it. And then he can use his insight to be able to give Arthur the insight to be able to better control Realm Heart, or get some insight to be able to further progress in his understanding of Realm Heart, since Realm Heart is part of the Vivim branch. I'm just speculating. That's what could possibly happen, because it's still kind of crazy that Regis has half and Arthur has half. Like, how the fuck does that even happen? Because we know that it happened because Regis ended up because Arthur ended up getting Destruction. He learned Destruction, but then it like completely took over him, and he was going to destroy himself. And Regis had to go inside and like pretty much absorb half of the knowledge to be able to save him. And so if he can do that, Regis should be able to go back inside. So remember, Regis said that he tried to give it back to him, but he couldn't do it. But he never said that he tried to go back inside and try to absorb the other half of the knowledge. So maybe if Arthur lets him absorb the other half, then he's going. I'm telling you, that makes perfect sense, and that has to be where we go. So he does that, and then maybe he gives more insight into Aurora's Requiem. So then how does Sylvie do it then? So Sylvie should be able to give him more insight into Aurora's Requiem. But then he has one more. So we got 2 more keystones. We got 2 more keystones of knowledge from the Jinn. So those, and from what we know is the keystone, we never seen a keystone give him 2 God rooms. So it's safe to say that each keystone will give him enough insight to form 1 God room. So It's 2 God runes he's probably missing. But then again, he could also still form his own God runes from just other insight that he learns from just exploring or whatever, the same way he did with God Step and the same way that he did with Destruction. So, man. So I guess we're not going to get any more Keystones. And maybe, you know what? Maybe he doesn't even need, maybe potentially he doesn't even need that lost Keystone. Maybe he can gather enough insight from the one Keystone, Sylvie, Regis, and then maybe some other experiences that he goes through that can give him enough insight to form enough God runes to master, to give him enough insight to master all the different edicts to then go into Fate. So maybe he doesn't need it, potentially. But man, this is crazy. This got me thinking so much. This got me thinking about so much shit. And I've been on for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and that's crazy. But this got me thinking a lot, man. This is great. This makes everything makes more sense now. Everything makes more sense. But Regis should be able to understand Destruction better than Arthur, as he is Vivim type, but they don't fully connect it because they both still lose control. They still lose control because he doesn't have the full half. He doesn't have the other half of the insight. I think I remember what did he say? Like he has like it's like vague and foggy or something like that. That's what Arthur said. It was like vague and foggy. It's like he said that he can read it, but he can't understand it. But I guess Regis can understand it, but can't read it. I don't fucking know. Something like that. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking about. So that's what he needs to do. That's what Arthur needs to do. He needs to use Sylvie and Regis to better understand their branches, their edicts of ether, so that way it can give him more insight to be able to understand his own God runes that he made, so he can so he needs to master all 3. He needs to master all 3. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So I guess my question is now, because I was having this conversation with what Acris or whatever. So listen to this, right? Listen to this for a second. So Helios, if you're still in here, and nobody else is contributing to the conversation, I want to hear what everybody else thinks, but nobody's saying anything. But so I'm thinking about how important are the humans to this war? Okay, so that was kind of what the conversation was that I was having with Acres, was that just how important are the humans to this war? Like, is Arthur responsible for everything? Do they need Arthur in order to do anything? Like, are the humans so weak that they pose no threat towards the other Asuras, so therefore they can't get strong enough to actually really do anything about this war? So where everybody's relying on Arthur to get enough insight and, you know, master the God runes and all those different things, to where like any weapons that they get or any power-ups they get, they're still not going to be strong enough to be able to compete with an Asura. So the focus should be on Arthur getting as much insight and training to get as strong as possible, because he's the only person who can actually end this war. Is that the stance that people believe? Or because I think the humans are more important than that. I don't think the humans are just fodder and just like, okay, you're kind of just useless because you can't compete with an Asura. Because if you watch my video about the web comic, I was going and I was rereading it, and Winston was talking about how Agrona actually took multiple clans from the Basilisk, from the Basilisk clan or the Basilisk race. He took multiple clans with him to Alacria. So there's a lot more Asuras that Agrona has or around him that we haven't been introduced to yet. Because think about it. I mean, a clan of Asuras, like, I mean, how many people is in one clan? You got like maybe a dozen, maybe more. If he took like 3-4 different clans with him, there's dozens and dozens of Basilisk Asuras that we just haven't met yet that Agrona could use in this fight. So I believe at some point we're going to get more Basilisk Asuras or whatever that's going to be contributing to this war. And if that's the case, I don't think Arthur can do all this shit by himself. He's going to need somebody who's going to be strong enough. He's going to need somebody to be strong enough to be able to help him out. Like, he's not a one-man army. I mean, he can potentially get so strong to where he can foderize regular Asuras. Potentially he can get there, but I still think that he's going to need help. He's going to need help. So I guess my question is this, is that do you think that he needs the help from, the regular humans? Do they need to get stronger to contribute towards this war, or do they not matter and everything should be prioritized on Arthur getting strong as possible because he's the only person who can actually be strong enough to end the war? Because I think he needs help. I think he needs everybody. Anyway, let me see what you're saying. So with new swords, or the last thing he talked about Iran, yeah. So the new swords and stuff with Gideon should be powerful enough to contribute to war efforts in an Asuran war. See, I don't think so. I don't think so simply because we're talking about giving regular humans, because they're not talking about just giving the mages swords and stuff like that. They're talking about being able to get the regular humans and giving them power-ups to be able to actually see. This is why I want to have, listen, I'm talking about this. This is why I want to have, I want to have you guys come in what is it called? Not like Zoom or whatever, but have y'all contribute to the conversation. I want to actually hear y'all thoughts and talk. We can kind of just have a whole conversation about all this and kind of bounce ideas off of each other and shit as how we can see it happening. But I don't have the what is it called? The software to be able to do that, to be able to drop a link and join in and give your thoughts and stuff. I want to be able to do that, but I'm broke. So I can't fucking afford that shit. Even just being able to edit videos, that shit costs money a month. That software shit, that shit costs money a month, and it adds up and it ends up being a lot. I can't do that right now, but I want to potentially be able to do that. But anyway, let me go back to what I was saying. So you said with new swords. So I don't think that they're going to be strong enough with those swords to be able to compete, because they want to give the regular human swords to be able to fight. And a regular human with some I don't care how strong this sword is, they're going to get fodderized by an Asura. So it's not, they're not even going to, there's no way. Unless they got some sword that can suppress their mana and their abilities, there's no way they're going to be able to compete. So I don't think those swords are going to be strong enough to be able to compete with the swords. I think that those swords and stuff and whatever, maybe they give them armor, right? Give them armor, give them shields, give them some sort of weapon or some shit, to where their defenses get up, their attack strength gets up, and maybe their manipulation of mana gets better because they get some glove that can make them use all 4 of the deviant elements of the mana or some shit like that, something along those lines. But now here's what I do think. I do think that the lances can get some equipment and train, and they can eventually get strong enough to be able to go one-on-one with an Asura. I do believe that. I do believe that the lances can eventually get to that level of strength. But as for the regular humans, I don't see it. I don't see it. But with the lances, I think they would need to get some regalias, right? So they would need to get some spell forms. They would need to get some armor, some weapons. We already know Byron already has his weapon. They would need to get some armor, some weapons, some spell forms, and they need to do more training with their mana core, and then they'll be able to compete with an sword. But I think it's going to take a lot of time. And as far as we know, they haven't gotten any stronger. What the fuck have they been doing these last 2 months? Maybe they have, and they just haven't gone through it yet, but we don't know. But anyway, let me go back to the comments. Okay, gamer strategist, you're here. That's cool. That's cool. I'm cooking and watching. LOL. That's why I haven't been active with speak. Okay, cool. I wonder what you cooking. You cooking? What you cooking? Hope you don't burn the place down. Cooking skills probably trash. Arthur is probably trying to create something like Wraith. Yeah, exactly. So some of the people can be as strong as a Wraith, right? Because we know the Wraith by themselves, they're not strong enough to compete with an Asura. That's why they got a team of them and a team of them. But listen though, the Wraith. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So if Arthur makes somebody that's equivalent to a Wraith, right? But we know that the Wraith is not strong enough to compete with an Asura by themselves. But if a team of them working together perfectly, they can take down an Asura. But here's my thing. Arthur won't be able to do that. And the reason that he won't be able to do that is because Agrona, it took him tons and tons of years and years of molding the different the Alacrians. And like I said, as soon as their bachelor's mana, manifest, they're immediately getting to training. They're training, they're doing all this torturous shit that Kara was talking about. Like, they're going through hell, and they're pretty much getting trained from birth to be able to work together as a tandem, to have perfect synergy, to be able to work with each other, to be able to take down an Asura. And I just do not think at all for a second that Arthur is going to be able to train them long enough to be able to have that amount of combative synergy to be able to take down an Asura. They won't be able to work together that well. I just do not see that happening. So that's the reason why I don't think that will be able to happen. But I think that the Lances could potentially get strong enough to be like, to be able to compete with a Wraith or to compete with a Asura, just because of their experience. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with that. Arthur's project. The squads that will fight a single Asura. Well, in the last Q&A, he said that he was thinking about bringing back Claire Bladeheart, so there must be a way, but can't say for sure. I think that Arthur could potentially be able to reform her core using Ether. That's what I think. Maybe if he gets some more insight from Sylvie about Avum, he can unlock more insight around Aurora's Requiem and use that to reform her mana core, and then she'll be able to use mana again. That could happen. Squads that will fight singles or blah, blah, blah. Discord. I've been hearing about this. I got to look into Discord. I got to look into creating a Discord. So I don't really know a whole lot about Discord. So is Discord like, can you just go in and like have chats with people, whatever, drop the link and do chats and stuff? I got to look into Discord. I'll probably create one. I ain't doing shit today, so I'll probably look into it today. I don't know a whole lot about Discord, so I don't know. But I've been hearing about it, so I gotta look into it. When Lances reach integration stage, okay. So here's my other question. I should write down the questions. You know what? I'm gonna do like a poll, because people don't really give a whole lot of opinions on here. But I got questions, so I'm gonna do a couple polls. The first question is: do you think the Lances will reach integration stage? It doesn't matter at what point of the story, but do you think that the Lances will reach integration stage? I'm not sure. And the reason that I'm not sure is because look at what it took for Cecilia to reach integration stage. She literally had to absorb, unless Cecilia did it in like a super fast way. Like she kind of like hijacked it or whatever and did it in a way that is not normal, because she had to absorb all of the Basilisk mana, and then she had to absorb all of the Phoenix's mana, and then she had to absorb another Basilisk mana just to be able to do that. Like, that's 3 Asuras. She had to absorb the mana from 3 Asuras in order to get there. I don't see the Lances being able to do that. But here's why I say that maybe she just did it in like some OP, super fast, hijack way. But there's a normal way that Arthur could have eventually learned how to do back when he had his mana core. Maybe there's a normal way, a more slower way, not as fast, to be able to reach it. But how much time will that take? Unless there's an artifact that they can make that could accelerate their ability to be able to get to that stage. Potentially, maybe, I don't know. But I'm just wondering how long that's going to take for them to reach integration stage, because I would just think that it would take too long. The story would be over before they had a chance to get there. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, if they do reach integration stage, they'll be able to compete. They'll be able to compete with Asuras for sure. For sure. They'll be able to compete with Asuras, Lances. But that's why I said before, I think that the Lances they could eventually be able to compete with an Asura. I just don't know how they're going to go about it, because for right now, their limiter has been removed from their mana core. But the last 2 months, we don't know if they got any stronger. But we know they need mana, though. They need mana. Because I remember they was drawing the mana from the horn that he had got when he killed the Wraiths. And that was what helped them like take off. Was the mana? No. The mana isn't what helped them remove the limiter on their mana cores. I don't think. Because I know Arthur was mostly the reason why that happened. I have to reread. But yeah, so I'm just wondering how the Lances will be able to reach integration stage if they're not consuming Basilisk mana. And then think about this. Sylvia was able to do that. She was able to absorb a Basilisk mana because she had much more control over mana. Like she came out the womb, so quote unquote, she came out the womb being able to draw in people's mana from a distance. Like she could take fucking mana from barriers and draw it in, and take mana from other people's mana cores and draw that shit in, and reform Nico's mana core and shit. She could do that from the jump. So I don't think that the Lances will ever be able to like take the mana away from a fucking Asura. I don't think that will ever be able to happen. So there has to be some other way of being able to learn to get to that level without drawing in all that mana. But how did Arthur progress to the... So Arthur progressed to all the different levels on his mana core because, for one, he needed the mana from the from Uto's horn. He needed that mana, and he shared it with Sylvie. And then he said that he needs to be able to refine his mana core to make his mana more pure. So that's what they would need to do, right? Would they need to refine their mana core to get to that next level? Or is it different when you get to white core? Maybe you need to refine your mana core to make it more pure when you're in, red stage, orange stage, yellow stage, silver, and then white. But then once you get the white, maybe there's a different process because you're already as pure as you can get. And now you got to like try to get somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I've got thoughts. When Lances reach integration stage, they would be on par. Okay. I mean, there was a whole one chapter about removing their limits. So if they don't reach it, it will be sad. I mean, exactly. That's why I said that they have to. Like, otherwise, if they don't do anything, then he just went through all that shit to remove their limits for no fucking reason. It was simply pointless. So yeah, they would have to. Otherwise it would just be pointless. It would be just completely pointless. So yeah, if that makes the most sense. I'm just wondering how. There has to be some other way of doing it because I don't think they're going to follow the same path as Cecilia. I mean, horns and such are potent mana battery. Yeah, right? I mean, the horns are potent, but like Cecilia, man, I mean, she took in oceans and oceans amounts of mana from the Basilisk and the Phoenix and all that shit. I mean, she got like remember what Arthur said when Winsome showed up. It was literally like not Winsome. It wasn't Arthur. I think it was Lyra. Lyra had said that when Winsome showed up, it was like an ocean of mana just came out of nowhere. And it's just like, what the fuck? So like Cecilia was taking oceans of mana. So they're not going to be able to do that. So it has to be another way. I just don't know how. My best guess, it has to be something with an artifact. Some artifact that helps them do it. That's my best guess. Well, we got time jumps. We don't know what they did. Yeah, we don't know what they did the last 2 months, so we don't know. Okay, so back what I was saying before. So how important are the regular mages going to be? You got Curtis, you got Kathleen, you got I don't know, Professor Glory. Professor Glory's really good with her mana and stuff like that. Who else is pretty strong? You got Virion. Virion's pretty strong. But they're not. Yeah, but they're not like white cores. But you got Virion though. They could potentially get to a white core, maybe. I can see like Curtis and Kathleen going to white core. Who else can get up there? Ellie Is Ellie still like light yellow? Because last time I checked, Ellie was light yellow, about to hit silver. Like, so she could potentially get the fucking silver stage. Ellie, man, Ellie is crazy, man. Her power progression is just skyrocketing. Like, I'm telling you, she's pretty much getting close to what Arthur was when he was her age. 14. That's crazy. But I'm trying to think. When was Arthur 14? Was he 14 when he went to Ephiodus? Do y'all know? Was Arthur 14 when he went to Ephiodus? Because I'm just trying to think about how strong Arthur was when he was 14. Anyway, I've got thoughts though. I've got thoughts. This is gonna be thinking about a lot of different stuff. But yeah, I'm just wondering how important are the regular humans, because the regular humans could fight. See, here's what I think about. Agrona doesn't really need the Alacrians as far as like combat. He didn't need the Alacrians for combat. He basically only farmed the Alacrians because he needed people to dive into the dungeons because he couldn't get in there, or the dungeons, the relic tombs, because he couldn't get in there. And he also needed them to, as far as like the power structure, hierarchy, and he also needed them to get strong enough to where they're, that's why they made the sides and stuff like that. So people look at the sides as like, all powerful. So he had to have some humans get powerful enough to be able to, like, I guess, subdue and keep in check all the regular humans, because he probably didn't want to use the rest of the Asuras to be able to do that. They probably thought it was beneath them. So he trained some regular, humans to be able to do that, right? But now at this point, as far as like battle power, he doesn't need the size or the humans to do anything. He's got the Wraiths. The Wraiths are strong enough to be able to take down Asuras. But the Wraiths are only possible if the humans awaken their Basilisk mana. But not all the humans are able to do that. So I don't think he really needs the humans at all. So he's probably going to just take his Wraiths and take the other Asuras, and that's going to be the main combatant threat, unless you want to use them as like fodder. But for an Asura, they can fodderize a bunch of fucking, regular Alacrians easily. So that wouldn't be anything. I mean, listen, man. You seen what, well, I ain't gonna say but you seen what Aldir did to some fucking dragons, right? Like literally one shot. And these are Asuras. So you gotta know that Kez got some Asuras on deck that can do the same shit, that at least similar to what Aldir did. So, like, I mean, a bunch of tens of thousands of fucking Alacrians going into Ephiodus, like, they're gonna just get fodderized. Like, it ain't gonna be shit. So they're not important. I think just the Wraiths are important, and that's really it. And if he can get some of the size or something like that working, or get some of the people working enough to be able to become a Wraith to where they can have that teamwork to take down an Asura, possibly they're good, but I don't think they matter. So at this point, then the real enemies, the real threats are going to be Asuras. The Asuras are going to be the ones that are going to be the real enemy. So the people in Daikathan are going to be fighting Asuras, and I just don't know how they're going to be able to do that. The Lances could potentially do that, but I don't see the rest of the people being able to do that, though. I don't know. I guess it really just depends on where it goes. Well, yeah, I think Arthur, he said, Arthur most likely won't fight either side. No. I don't think he's going to fight one-on-one either. Because Kez is an enemy, but he's not like a direct threat right at this very moment. The biggest threat right now is Agrona. I don't know, man. I don't know. But listen, I'm going to check out Discord, okay? I'm going to check out Discord because I want to set up some shit, have some conversations, and I'm going to see what that's about. I'm going to set up some polls, see what you guys think. But this chapter is great. Phenomenal chapter. And I've been on this shit for too long, so I'm about to exit up out of here. But I appreciate y'all joining in. I appreciate the likes. If we can get some more likes, that'd be cool. But I appreciate the likes that we got anyway. And man, I appreciate you just fucking joining in and just being part of the whole conversation this whole time. You're the only one that's been talking. I mean, Strategist, he talked for a little bit, but he's cooking right now, making sure that he don't burn the house down. So he'll probably join in some other time. But I'm gonna get up out of here. Appreciate y'all joining in. And check you guys out in the next video. Peace out.